Talking about the man. How strong is James Brown? Those lights that swirl. 1, 2, 3 count. Bump, bump, bump. 3 count. Hear him? Woo! Truly is the man. Taught everybody. Kick it up just a little bit more, Adam. This is when I got to do the interview with him. He had lights and backup dancers. I swear he had the same backup singers. Same horn section. Yelling at everybody. Here comes the beat. Right here. Bump, bump, bump. Living in high. Saturday morning, everybody, October the 11th, 2025. I'm Peter Boyles, on the air everywhere. 710 KNUS. Thanks for being here. 70 and spotty showers. Tomorrow will be beautiful, 72, 67 Monday, and 72 degrees on Tuesday. We were playing JB because we were talking at the end of the other shows, and we're saying, okay, what was the man? And Caldera was asking, and I said, James Brown. So I want to do something else this morning. And I think we're going to listen to a lot of great callers, and I got a couple of guests lined up. But was there a conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk? And the similarities that people were pointing out between John Kennedy and Charlie Kirk. And here's a great line. Candace Owens, who has really fallen from grace in some areas and risen in grace in others. Candace Owens called it a full-blown federal operation. Now, our nation in my lifetime has been shaken in high-profile public figures whose influence reached far beyond, the regular audiences. And John F. Kennedy died in 1963, rights leader Dr. King. Of course, you get on a list of people, Bobby Kennedy, Malcolm X, and now Charlie Kirk. And while each assassination took place in a different era, under different circumstances, and the similarities between them are too striking to ignore. And they reveal troubling patterns about political violence, division in our country, national trust. And for the last couple of days, and last night and this morning, got into the job early and sitting here, and Adam's done remarkable work on this one. But John Kennedy was the face of American leadership during the Cold War. This is my childhood. And Dr. King, of course, the struggle for racial equality and justice. And this young man, Charlie Kirk, emerged as a leading conservative activist. His voice had reached millions, and I try and make the case that he is this generation of young conservatives. He's their Jack Kennedy. Now, each man was controversial, admired by many, criticized by others, but the influence of these men, Malcolm X was the one looking back, the power of Malcolm, making symbols and their visibility. And those assassinations did not happen in secret or behind closed doors. They happened in spaces the public could see them and learn quickly. Jack Kennedy, he's riding in an open-top motorcade in Dallas, Texas. Dr. King shot standing on the balcony. We now know the famous Lorraine Hotel, or infamous Lorraine Motel in Memphis. Charlie Kirk shot from a rooftop while speaking at Utah Valley University. The public nature of these attacks means their death was not only tragedies, but national. They were spectacles, and they were magnified by photographers and television, and of course today, viral vision. So when Adam's doing something in the studio right now, and he'll go back in and kick this in, but right now, Candace Owens, who is really a right-wing conspiracy theorist, but she's absolutely been, it's been brilliant to watch her. And she has angered up so many people. We got a bunch of cuts to play. 303-696-1971. I'd get on this show early if I were you because I think it's going to take off. So many people talking about this. And people believe, and like I said, after 3 or 4 evenings and afternoons reading, there are these text messages, and Adam's the one who pointed this out to me. And the messages are with the Tyler Robinson, the alleged, I like that, 22-year-old assassin, acting alone. But then comes these, they were released by the Utah prosecutors, these text messages. Now they've been interpreted. They said that's just the staging, making it clear. Watching, others have gone further, suggesting we'll hear from them that a network of shadowy liberals financed the shooting, or at least incited it. And some top Trump officials have endorsed that theory. So without further ado, let's play this and get this party started. But we were listening to this morning, Adam and I. Well, this is very powerful. It's from CNN, which is a liberal outfit, but one more time, here we go.
Conspiracy theories about the death of Charlie Kirk have been exploding online.
Israel will kill him.
The martyr, Charlie Kirk.
There have been more than 2 million distinct posts in the last week on X or Twitter referencing these conspiracy theories. That's according to the data analytics firm Peak Metrics, which said that it's actually twice as many posts as there were after the assassination attempt against Donald Trump last summer. Think about that. Some left-wing figures have been pushing the unhinged theory that Donald Trump himself orchestrated the killing to distract from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Other liberal activists have tried to connect the suspect to far-right white supremacist groups that had been clashing with Charlie Kirk, even though there is mounting evidence that the suspect was upset with Charlie Kirk's conservative ideology. And then on the right, some of Trump's allies like Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer have been pushing the idea that the suspect was part of a terror cell, even though the authorities have said that the suspect acted alone.
It seems like we're being spoon-fed a narrative.
Others on the right have been leaning hard into anti-Semitic tropes and are blaming Israel.
I heard that Charlie Kirk was afraid Israel was going to kill him.
Threats were made.
These theories are insane, but the disinformation expert I spoke to said they don't really need to make any sense because on the internet, the incentives are totally backwards. The podcasters, influencers, and grifters that have been promoting these conspiracy theories need to churn out take after take. The more inflammatory, the better, so that they can gain more followers, build subscribers, and keep the money flowing.
Oof. Already, the wall is lighting up. Calling Candace Owens right wing is utterly incorrect. Well, do with that as you may. Remember, and I remember this one well, Candace also claimed that the French president's wife was a man. 303-696-1971. Lines are wide open. I'm telling you, get in this one because I watched these things happen. Do you believe? The assassination of Charlie Kirk is this grim reflection of our society tearing itself apart, and mistrust has replaced confidence. I was telling the fellows when Jack Kennedy was assassinated, murdered, hit, I believed, like so many of us did, the government wouldn't tell us anything that wasn't true. Who's left standing that when the Warren Commission meets and does its report, who left standing in this country in this year, 2025, believes the Warren report? No one. And anybody that swallows the 9/11 Commission report is also along those same lines. To the wall again. Donald Trump is not stealing from your grandchildren. Okay? All right. 303-696-1971. Biden and Obama are responsible. See? So the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the murders of Malcolm X and Dr. King and John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. And, well, let's go to the phones. We'll get it rolling. We will begin. This is Brian in Arvada. Happy Saturday morning, brother. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Peter. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Hey, do you know a guy named, does anybody remember a guy named Rob O'Neill?
Help me.
He's the Navy SEAL that took out bin Laden.
Oh, sure. I know who he is. Exactly. I know who he is.
Okay, so there's a video of him on there saying, hey, guys, this guy was not shot with a 30-06.
Oh.
It was impossible. And this is a trained assassin.
Let me add something to that. Coming up this morning at 10:30, he knows more about firearms than anybody I know, and he's an excellent shot, is Alan Samuel from Machinegun Tours. And I'm going to ask him those exact questions, but go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, and also if you look at the internet, they've been doing some tests. So they took a cow femur bone. If anybody's ever seen a cow femur bone, I mean, the thing's like 4 inches thick. I mean, it's tough. And then they put 4 inches of meat in front of this cow femur bone, shot it from 150 yards. It blew the femur bone completely in half. So, and you got splatter behind it. Not only did they do that, they took 2 pork roasts with bones in them, plus a femur bone. It went through all 3 bones. There is no way that this guy was shot with a 30-06. So we know they're lying right there. So if you start everything else with the lie, and then this kid supposedly, you know, he's got skinny jeans on, and he's got this this 40-inch barrel with a scope on it that supposedly down his pants that he's hiding. It just doesn't make any sense. None of this makes sense. So we're being lied to.
No, I've been reading for 3 days now, and it's broadening as we speak. Now, I don't know how old you are, which one of these other assassinations you remember, but when John Kennedy was murdered, assassinated, hit, whatever you want to call it, I willingly believed that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one and only. He was shot by Jack Ruby. End of story. None of that. I believe none of that today. None of it.
No, and if you look, Peter, do you think this guy is ever going to see the inside of a courtroom? The same people that were handling the Epstein, which I think this is all connected, the same people that were in charge of the Epstein gig, they're in charge of this kid now.
That's part of this.
Yeah.
The claims that are made, and I read, so that makes me somewhat dangerous because I don't have much of well, I'll let it go at that, but the claims are that Charlie Kirk was going, quote, bad on Israel. This is the claims, going bad against the war in Gaza, and also was pressing for the Epstein files to be released. And
yeah, I know he was doing that, and he'd been losing some donors. I guess some $2 million donor ducked out because of
that was on a list too, of things.
Tucker or something like that.
Well, now Tucker Carlson has really emerged as, and he gives this eulogy at the funeral, and we'll play it. It's bizarre. I'm going to ask people, do with that as you may, but Tucker Carlson, who was Fox News's darling, he was talk radio, conservative talk radio's darling, Tucker Carlson. He did you see him speak at his eulogy for Charlie Kirk?
I didn't, Peter.
We'll play it for you in a minute. I'll
okay.
tell you what. You want to put him on hold and play it? All right, because our lines are jammed up. Why don't you put Brian the caller on? It's a good time to play this. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to how he's, in essence, blaming. I think he's, well, you tell me who you think he's blaming. And then he does this laugh. This is the eulogy in Arizona for Charlie Kirk.
It actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Everything is inverted.
Now, when I saw that for the first time yesterday, he's not talking about a lone rogue gunman. What's he talking about? He's talking about, remember, the rabbis were the ones that plot again for Jesus. And he does that weird laugh. Brian, now you heard that for the first time. You haven't heard that before?
No, and he's basically saying this was an organized hit, which he's right, because none of the stories match up. You even see the guy running across the roof. We never see him laying on the roof with a gun, and they did the time analysis. Within 3 seconds of that shot, this guy's darting across the roof. Then they show him about 16 minutes later in a Dairy Queen enjoying a little treat there. Now the Dairy Queen's shut down, wiped clean. I don't know if anybody knows that, but none of this makes any sense, and I don't know how they're going to get out of this. I think this was a sloppy hit job, and so they're going to be in a little bit of trouble trying to get out of this unless they get rid of that kid.
Tucker Carlson has an X on him now from, well, I shouldn't say that because there are parts of the MAGA world that are cheering this on. Donald Trump's chief deputy, is a guy's named Stephen Miller. I quote Miller, and this was just a showstopper. Miller says, or is quoted as, "This was an organized campaign that led to this assassination involving terrorist networks." Now, he's Donald Trump's deputy chief of staff. That's not the single rogue gunman theory who's living with a transgendered man from the wall. With all the cameras and surveillance we have spying on people, surveillance makes it easier for AL to fake stuff. That's interesting. So, because of lots of phone calls, final question to you, Brian. Are we being lied to about the assassination of Charlie Kirk?
Well, definitely. We know we are. We know they're at least lying. We know that much because, like I said, just take the gun on its own. I mean, if it goes through a femur, matter of fact, that particular a 30-06 will go through a 1/4 inch of steel at 150 yards.
Well,
they were calling him, remember, steel mech. So just the gun alone doesn't make sense, and everything around it, nothing makes sense. So. Yeah, we're definitely being lied to.
All right, man. Underway. We go to Marty. Marty, thank you for waiting. You're on the radio show. Good morning.
Peter, I want to commend you. I want to lift you up. You've got cowards in Denver, talk radio cowards, that will actually say, if you bring up Charlie Kirk, if you bring up Epstein, if you bring up these topics, we're going to hang up on you. That's happening in Denver right now. So
stop.
To me,
tell me who did it. Whoa, stop. What radio station?
John Rush, KLZ 560. I'm regular there as well. Tell me basically, if you bring up Charlie Kirk, we're hanging up on the phone.
I don't even know who that is.
That's not uncommon.
Brother, I don't even know.
You're right. Well,
I don't even know who the guy is. So
maybe that speaks to the quality of that comment.
No, but he said. Let me. I got to get this straight. Marty.
Yeah. Yes.
Where's this guy work?
This is KLZ 560 AM. In fact, I was on that station at one point and have maintained a caller shift there and like to call in once a week, topic of the day.
What happened?
Well, so then I pivoted to
and everybody thought it was the invisible government. Whoa! This one says, iHeartRadio just dropped your stream on the 560 AM caller. Let me reset. Good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. I'm Peter Boyles. Spotty showers and 70 will be the high. 72 Sunday, Monday, 67 degrees. Asking the question about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And a caller's on the line with us, and he was speaking about another radio station, another talk show host, that would not let him speak about Jeffrey Epstein, I guess. And then the computer takes over, knocks us out of the box, and it is just amazing what is being said that quickly. All right, so Marty, you're back up. So this guy's on the air, and you call up and want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein?
I call up and I want to talk about the circumstances around Charlie Kirk, and to me that's a scarier shutdown. If you're willing to if you're a Christian conservative person like the host claims to be, and like much of MAGA
well, first of all, let me set this. If you got a problem with him, take it to him. I was just
I did.
Okay, so what?
But this is the point. I came to you, Peter. I wanted to lift you up for addressing a very uncomfortable issue for so many MAGA people. And, of course, Democrats are really not involved or have any interest in this. But for the MAGA Christian conservative to just accept the Charlie Kirk facts on their merits, on their face, Peter, they're calling an exit wound an interest wound.
Well, I'm reading
They're calling
this.
the angle. This is crazy.
Yeah, I'm reading it. Yeah.
We're beyond that. I want people to do themselves a favor, and I also want to lift you up, Peter, because when I first started listening to you just in the last couple of years, you made me very mad about the it was the JFK, was Lee Harvey Oswald, it was DeGrasse, and you've had a pivot because why? Facts have been revealed, and things have come to light that allows the human, the individual in America to say, you know what? My eyes are seeing something else than what they're telling me, and that's what happened with Charlie Kirk. Our eyes saw a horrific assassination, not by a homosexual on a roof, but by intelligence. And so what we do know is that the story that came out is a lie. Let's move beyond that. Let's get into some stuff that we can really tear apart the holes in the story. If you remember 9/11, Peter, the modus there, of course you do, but if you remember the theme, it became very patriotic very quickly. And it kind of had a lot of holdover. Republicans and Democrats were not as divided, but it was, we're going to join together and we're going to go get them. We didn't really ask a lot, like, well, how does Building 7 fall down like that?
No, but don't listen. Let's not go in that direction. Stay on this one right now. Right. Charlie Kirk. Who do you believe? Here's one that just came in. This is lighting up this morning. Peter, Owens, and Carlson. And it's the Jews and MAGA are going along. I'm just reading what's being sent to me.
Yeah.
All right, so who do you believe is behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk?
Well, it's obviously intelligence, and then you look at who benefits from that. I've spoken to this before, and this is the truth of what was going on with Charlie Kirk. He was speaking to a demographic that would end in permanency the Israeli-American alliance, these taxpayers. Oh, and by the way, as a taxpayer, I'm still waiting for my return on the settled Hamas-Israeli deal. When can we expect a return on our taxpayer dollars now that this has been resolved? But setting that aside, the current generation is not interested in the baby boomer Judeo-Christian. He was cutting that off right there. And that's a death sentence for Israel, as you know that, monetarily and in their own security. So we look at who benefits? The Jew benefits. Who benefited from the death of Jesus? The Jew. I mean, go back to Quo Bono. Who benefits, Peter?
Well, you are stretching this out pretty far, and for the sake of what goes on, we're going to let you go another minute or two, but
no problem.
Well, never mind. I'll let it go at that. But so do you see parallels in Jack Kennedy and Charlie Kirk?
Of course, because, again, our eyes saw one thing, the story tells another. And if you notice the government's modus there, the way they operate, is they get so quick and early to get the theme, the narrative, and the story shoved down your throat. Osama bin Laden, Lee Harvey Oswald, gay homosexual shooter, Wuhan leak. They get on their theme and they repeat, repeat, repeat. So we saw with our eyes, well, hold on a second, Kennedy was shot twice, and there's no way this guy from the grassy knoll
Actually, there were 3 shots.
Okay, 3 shots, even worse than the one. I mean, you see how crazy this sounds now? 60 years later, Peter, just like the Building 7 falling down. We saw this stuff.
Okay.
We saw Charlie Kirk. We must address what our eyes
right.
Don't be so scared to talk about 9/11.
I'm not afraid of anything. Simply that we've gone long enough. I appreciate. Thank you. All right. I this is what I expected. Don, you're on the radio show. Good morning, 710 KNUS. Don, you're up.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well.
Good. So that guy that was just on in his reference to the Jews.
Yep.
I have heard for quite a while now that just about everything that ever happened was Mossad, including Charlie.
Listen, your phone is cracking up on me.
Hold on a second. Let me turn off the headphones.
Okay, do that.
You there?
Yep.
Is that better?
No, get close to your receiver, please.
Are you that better?
There, much better.
Okay. So I've talked to different people that continue to tell me it's always the Mossad, it's always the Zionists for every single thing that's happened. I had dinner with a guy last night at a birthday party from Morocco. We're talking, everything was good, and he says, well, you know who killed Kennedy? I said, no, but I'll bet you're going to tell me. He says, well, the Mossad. Oh, so the guy in the driver's seat turned around and shot Kennedy.
No.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. This is all, but every Muslim I talk to, and I have a lot of Muslim friends, this is their belief. Everything is the fault of the Mossad, and it's just how it is.
Let me ask in terms of motive. What would Mossad's motive be to kill John F. Kennedy in 1963?
Well,
or it doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter because the Mossad's response 9/11, that was the Mossad. I mean, everything I hear, and this boggles my mind because it's not just one group, different countries, typically all Sunnis, and it blows my mind that this is their belief. I wish you had that gal who was pro-Palestinian on. I'd like to ask her who she thinks killed these people. I'd love to hear her response.
But this country, our country, from the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the murders of Malcolm X in my lifetime, Malcolm X, Dr. King, the Kennedy brothers, Charlie Kirk. Remember, there's 2 attempts on Donald Trump, and there's also people that don't believe that the attempt, they believe that those were set up to make Trump look good. You've probably heard or read that.
That's a hell of a shot, I'll tell you. To get just the tip of his ear, that's a great shot.
Well, it almost doesn't matter when you speak about theories like the ones that you and I are talking about. So you have this 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Let me bounce off the question. I've been writing down questions to myself since I wanted to do this show. There's a working theory. The 22-year-old Tyler Robinson devises a plan on his own to assassinate Charlie Kirk because of his right-wing politics. Now, on the left, the theories tend to support the idea that Robinson was not, as the governor, remember the guy's named Spencer Cox, he's governor of Utah, and he put a man with a leftist ideology. Some libs continued to believe Robinson was a member of a white nationalist, they're called Goipers, and far to the right of Charlie Kirk's politics. And at the same time, these conservatives are looking for evidence that Robinson did not act alone. And again, that's when I came across this Stephen Miller, who's Donald Trump's deputy chief of staff. And these are his words. the murder or the assassination was, and I read this quotes, an organized campaign that led to his assassination involving terrorist networks. So, what do you do with all of that?
I don't know what you do with all that, because there's just so much stuff that instantly, within a few days, starts floating around.
Yes, it does.
But I'll tell you the one thing, until I meet a Muslim that tells me different, they always blame everything on the Zionists and the Mossad, not the Jews. They're quick to say there's a difference there. And I'm going, don't you ever watch any real evidence or read any books?
I mean, I will listen.
I understand it.
Yeah, when you say all of anything, it's like not true. But I understand, and that's why it's talk radio. Fair enough. But the topic itself is a front burner right now, and
when did this come to the front? When did this all start? All the conspiracy? 2 or 3 days?
No. Its beginnings are with in the death of Jack Kennedy. I mean, that's really I had dinner with a friend last night. We were talking about it. And I said, there was a book entitled "Rush to Judgment," and the guy's name was Mark Lane, and I read the book, and it came out maybe a year and a half after the Warren Commission. And Mark Lane was a lawyer, and he took the Warren Commission apart. He's the first one to do it. Years later, I'm in this business, and I meet Mark Lane. I meet the real Mark Lane, and he was writing about Jonestown and Jim Jones and old KWBZ radio, and he came into the studio, and we spent 2 hours talking about how he changed my mind. And then in the aftermath of that, I mean, I'll bet there's 100 books, more than 100 books, written about the Kennedy assassination. But Mark Lane was the first. And when we started disbelieving the government, and to this day, conspiracy theories on the guy who murdered Dr. King, and now the theories on Sirhan, or I mean, you go down a list of these killers, these people, and they all come up with these kinds of similarities. How's that? Or circumstances. So, Don, let me ask you, what do you believe?
Well, I think that there was definitely a lot of involvement in the Kennedy assassination by a faction of the CIA. Organized crime was involved.
I believe
Lyndon
that.
Johnson was a huge player because of his association with the Pearl Street Mafia out of Dallas, which started helping him get elected back in the late, around 48, and there were so many bodies that fell. I mean, that's all history. And, you know, you and I talked about this ad nauseum, about over and over and over. Did you ever watch that video? I'm sure you did, with the deputy press secretary came out to announce Kennedy dead.
Yeah.
And you watch the very end, and when he says, and the doctor said he was shot in the head, and he pointed at the right front
the doctor.
temple.
There's a book about the doctors, the Parkland doctors speak.
Yeah.
And even now, and I'm an old man, but this guy is the guy who found the magic bullet, and there's been no. Remember the guy? And he was a young secret.
Yeah.
We had him on the radio show. I read his book, and
I saw pictures of the bullet. They're off the Gertie.
but the point of it was he found the bullet, and he put the bullet on the stretcher. That created this entire major portion of the Warren Commission about the so-called magic bullet. None of it was true. I mean, none of it was true. And, I mean, there are all these...
Gulf of Tonkin.
None of it's true.
Same stuff. Yeah.
Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Not true. I mean, we go on and on and on and on. So we come, and this is what I'm talking about, that people have lost, or at least I have lost my belief in in my government or the government, I don't believe a word they say, any of them.
So back when Kennedy got assassinated,
Mm-hmm.
if you would have known about Mary Pinchot Meyer,
No, sure. She was murdered.
Dorothy Kilgallen,
Kilgallen. She was murdered.
Just like Marilyn Monroe.
She was murdered.
But Mary Pinchot Meyer, she totally rejected that Warren
Absolutely.
report. And
Absolutely.
if people don't know about her involvement with Jack Kennedy, well, that's a whole other story.
There, she was murdered. Marilyn Monroe, I believe, was murdered. I believe the Kennedys were part of that murder. The Kennedys were ruthless. And they were, and there's part of that thing.
They were bad people. They continued to try to assassinate Castro. Castro was so concerned when he got snuffed because we're going to get blamed for this.
I got to take a pause. Calls are underway. 303-696-1971. Good morning. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. Do you
Wake up, Denver. There's no...
that Charlie Kirk was, do you believe the story, the official story? Do you believe there was a conspiracy? A full-blown federal operation is what Candace Owens has called it. Lines are wide open, 303-696-1971.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, October 22nd, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 9565 South University Boulevard in Highlands Ranch. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, October 22nd at IHOP.
Jeannie C. Riley. There you go. Pull one out. Adam strikes again. Good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS Denver's Talk Station, October the 11th. Two lines are open. 303-696-1971. Was there a conspiracy? When my mama socked the two, the Harper Valley PTA. David Ellis, my friend and the man, you've heard me talking about taking valuables to David Ellis Jewelers to get a fortune in cash, find what things are worth, secure an appraisal from David. All the valuables you have tucked away in your home, it's still true. I'll share the other reasons to see David, just in case you don't have a Rolex watch, rare coins, silver tea set. Go see David Ellis for all the most meaningful gift-giving occasions. David Ellis Jewelers, just the right item, just the right price. Special people that mean the most. An antique watch, an emerald pendant, a gold necklace, a diamond ring. This trusted jeweler is my friend, has been buying precious metals and antiques here in Colorado for decades. Dazzling cases filled with hundreds of new and used pieces for your loved ones, and they will cherish them. He is my friend. I see him once a week, generally, sometimes 2 or 3 times. Visit David. See for yourself. Look for the black awning on the corner of 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek. He's there right now, 6 days a week. Explore DavidEllisJewelry.com. Call my friend David, 303-322-8779, 303-322-8779, and tell David Peter Boyles sent you. We have full lines. We begin here on line 1 is Gary. You're on a radio show. Good morning and thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to try to keep it short. There's a number of possibilities in regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Do you remember back when Nikita Khrushchev issued that statement, "We will bury you"?
Yeah, it was out of context, but yes, I do remember.
Well, it's another possibility because of all the divisiveness in this country that there could be a foreign angle, divide and conquer type of thing.
Well, what Nikita, it's called the kitchen debate, and it was he and Richard Nixon. And when he said, "We will bury you," he meant with consumer goods, which was nonsense, but everyone thought he was talking about thermonuclear war. And I'm not defending Khrushchev, but that's what he was saying to Nixon. They were looking at this modern kitchen. And,
okay.
But so that's one of those fables, but go ahead.
Yeah, because all the divisiveness that's going on in this country, any number of things could lead to, the divide and conquer theory. How, sometimes great powers a lot of times cave in from within because of the rot that exists in the system, etc.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say, Peter. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of callers waiting.
It's a great comment. It's a really good comment.
Okay, well, thank you very much,
Peter. Thank you, brother. You too. There's a line open. This is Jack. Jack, you're on a radio show. Good morning. Thanks.
Oh, good morning, Peter. I just wanted to direct your attention. I don't know if you've heard of a man named Daniel Davis. He has a podcast. He's a colonel, I believe. Daniel Davis Deep Dive. This is from 9 days ago.
Okay.
He had another guest on who is another military fellow. I believe his name's also Danny. I get the guys mixed up.
Okay.
You're familiar with Judge Napolitano's program.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So the guest he has on this one is one of the guests, and as I said, it's from 9 days ago, and they go over this. And what I found really interesting is that and it's titled. I don't know if I gave you the title. It's Charlie Kirk's murder and FBI deception. But they have a film that I guess was presented as the official FBI story, and it is curious immediately. This is it. This is how it went down, and it doesn't make any sense. But they show the film footage, and in the background you have these people walking on a sidewalk, and it's showing the guy on the roof. But in the background you see people walking. And as one of them goes behind a tree, they never re-emerge out of the tree, which is, they're saying, this is doctored. this is a doctored film.
Adam's aware of this. I'm learning all of this. I've spent the last couple of days reading and getting ready for the show, but I've not heard that. Adam just nodded his head that what you're telling is the truth.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm glad to be able to share that as far as.
Well, no, I'm going to go look at it, or try and look at it in a break. But
real quick, this is Adam.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's when he's jumping off the corner of that building with the gun. Behind that tree, you see somebody walking. When he goes behind the trunk of the tree, he never re-emerges. I don't know if there's a stairwell or a slope or something behind that tree where he disappears from view, but he does not come back. But it doesn't mean that it was necessarily edited, but I have seen that video.
I can see it at the top of the hour. When we take a break? Okay.
Yeah, I have heard that as well. Not to go back down that JFK thing, but I did hear this. I hadn't heard it before, that whoever was prime minister then, Kennedy, was against having them getting a nuclear.
I looked at my history stuff, and you're absolutely right. But Jack Kennedy was opposed to spreading the so-called the nuclear family. Remember, it's the French, the British, the Americans, and the Soviets. The Chinese had not quite got the bomb yet. And today the nuclear club is how big? I don't know. But you're right, he was in opposition, but wasn't anti-Israel. It was about anybody, and this is the point.
Okay.
It was anybody else getting a nuclear weapon. And, of course, when Khrushchev puts the missiles of October in Cuba, the belief was that they had nuclear warheads. So
who was prime minister then of Israel?
Well, it was before Golda Meir. I don't know if it was David Ben Gurion.
Whoever it was,
I don't know.
I heard he got into a very heated exchange with him.
Well, they were worried about the Arab world. I mean, there's no some things remain the same, but my understanding of Kennedy's opposition was. And I remember him being opposed to what was called the nuclear club, the nuclear family, was to keep everybody out. He didn't want. So that's why historians read things differently. But indeed, fair enough.
Right.
Good call. Thank you. All right, let's see what's our time like. We pretty close to the turnaround. We have 2 minutes. All right, we got 2 minutes. We can do it. All right, we go to Alan in Littleton. If you don't complete, I'll bring you back at the top of the hour. Alan, thanks. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. I know there's been a lot of discussion about other conspiracy theories that kind of we've changed our minds about over history. I won't go into those, but I do want to say in the Charlie Kirk situation, I'd suggest if you haven't seen that yet, check into. He was former. He ran for governor in Utah last year and didn't get elected. But his name is Phil Lyman.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay. He definitely had too much information. Like within days after, and he was saying things that were just kind of off the cuff. And I just don't, even had his, I think it was his nephew, or no, maybe one of his family members retrace the steps, apparently, of the shooter.
I've heard this story. Go ahead.
Yeah, and in one of the pictures, you can clearly, distinctly see that the guy standing next to his family member is literally exactly the same guy that was in the stairwell. And I've seen like 4 different people that they claim were the shooter, and none of them look alike.
Well, if you remember, the first guy that they got, and out of my notes, but if there's a fellow I've been reading, he's the state public safety commissioner. His name is Bo Mason. And Mason early on describes the suspect as the lone gunman. And Mason's careful to note, as the law enforcement officials do in such situations, that he may be wrong. So, listen, I'll put them on hold if you would, if you want to. We're back on the other side. Alan Samuel is going to be with us. It's 710 KNUS.
Mostly cloudy skies on this Saturday across the Denver metro. We'll have a few leftover showers during the day, then skies will clear up more into tonight. Highs today will be in the mid-70s with lows low 50s. Sunny skies mid-70s on Sunday. Lows going to drop to the low 40s Sunday night. Skies will be clear. Cold front will cool us off somewhat into Columbus Day. Sunny breezy for Monday with highs mid-60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call 720-851-1691 or visit them online at besteverhvac.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Conspiracy theories about the death of Charlie Kirk have been exploding online.
Israel will kill him.
The martyr, Charlie Kirk.
There have been more than 2 million distinct posts in the last week on X or Twitter referencing these conspiracy theories. That's according to the data analytics firm Peak Metrics, which said that it's actually twice as many posts as there were after the assassination attempt against Donald Trump last summer. Think about that. Some left-wing figures have been pushing the unhinged theory that Donald Trump himself orchestrated the killing to distract from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Other liberal activists have tried to connect the suspect to far-right white supremacist groups that had been clashing with Charlie Kirk, even though there is mounting evidence that the suspect was upset with Charlie Kirk's conservative ideology. And then on the right, some of Trump's allies like Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer have been pushing the idea that the suspect was part of a terror cell, even though the authorities have said that the suspect acted alone.
It seems like we're being spoon-fed a narrative.
Others on the right have been leaning hard into anti-Semitic tropes and are blaming Israel.
I heard that Charlie Kirk was afraid Israel was going to kill him.
Threats were made.
These theories are insane, but the disinformation expert I spoke to said they don't really need to make any sense because on the internet, the incentives are totally backwards. The podcasters, influencers, and grifters that have been promoting these conspiracy theories need to churn out take after take. The more inflammatory, the better, so that they can gain more followers, build subscribers, and keep the money flowing.
And good morning, everyone. Second hour of the morning show, 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Good to have you here. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather. They says, read this, spotty showers and 70. 72 Sunday, be sunny. Monday, 67, 72 on Tuesday. This morning, and put some work into this one, the conspiracy, or is there a conspiracy, to kill Charlie Kirk? And we were talking, and by the way, an addendum to a couple of things, and coming up at 10:30, we're going to have Alan Samuel on from Machinegun Tours, who really is, I think, the leading, for at least for me, firearms expert, and we'll talk about this gun, this Mauser. That was a Mauser 98, I think was called. It's a bolt-action rifle that was alleged, someone said, to have shot Charlie Kirk. Our country has been shaken in my lifetime many times in killing of high-profile public figures, but it starts for me in Jack Kennedy in 63, and Dr. King, civil rights leader Dr. King in 68, and most recently, of course, Charlie Kirk. And in the middle of that, of course, is Malcolm X, lost Malcolm X, Bobby Kennedy, and the list goes on. George Wallace, an attempt to kill George Wallace. And the nation has struggled with this and conspiracy that comes from it. And part of it they so deserve. This is a government that has lied so many times to me since the part of my life when I said, okay, I believe the Warren Report. Well, the Warren Report's junk. It's as much junk as the 9/11 Commission report. That's also junk. But this country, and regardless of who seems to be sitting in the Oval Office, has lied to me more times than I want to count. So now we come to a moment that is what? And was there a conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk? And I got to bring this caller back up with us. Alan, you're still there? Thanks for coming back up on the show. You there?
Thank you.
All right. So
I'm here.
Okay, I went and looked. Adam is tremendous. Adam Walker, morning show producer. And you talked about a video where the guy disappears. And what he actually does, there's a walkway. And when he hits the tree, he goes down the walkway. So he doesn't disappear. He just continues out of sight. But when you turn on, what do you call, Adam, jump into this and explain technically what you just did.
I just went on Google Maps, went to Utah Valley University where the shooting took place. You go to Globe View and you can adjust it. You can get the exact perspective from where that security camera was angled, and then you can see immediately behind the tree there is a depression where you can walk down and disappear from sight.
So, again, there are explanations. But let me ask you this. and then we'll open the phones up. Do you believe the official story? Maybe that's a good way to say it. The official story on the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Absolutely not. And it came out very quick, as I think another caller pointed out. It came out so quick. The narrative was right there. It was planned. Everything was planned. I think there's something really wrong with the whole story that they're feeding us, and I don't know the details. I'm no expert, but I can tell something's really fishy.
What's the one thing that troubles you more than anything else about the narrative?
I truly do not believe this was a solo young kid that was just taking a pot shot, and it was not a 308 or whatever 30-08. I think another caller mentioned that, but there's so many things fishy about this that I can't even. They came out with too much. They came out with too much information too soon, and it was all lies.
Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
How old are you?
I'm 57.
How many times do you think, regardless of who's in the Oval Office or who's in Congress, how many times do you think this government has lied to you?
Oh, boy.
See, you can't. I'm like you can't count them.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah. So, and it really is, when it comes to that moment where something that they desperately want you to believe, whether it's true or false, I certainly don't know, but your tendencies, or certainly my tendencies, are, no, you're not going to do this again. Now, I don't have an answer, obviously, on what you're talking about here, but I know that these people have run so many cons on me, so many grifts. So
right.
What now do I do? Do I accept this, or do I go, okay, like, 9/11, that who was behind it is a lie. The Saudi Arabians are behind it. They financed it. And now what the Saudi Arabians have done is they have hired every influence peddling outfit in our country to try and stop the 9/11 victim families from suing them. And locally, they've hired the Brownstein firm, they've hired Patton Bogg, they've hired the Podesta Group, they've hired every powerful law firm, every powerful influencing group to stop them from being nailed for what they were involved in. Watch George W. Bush, Dick Cheney. They're lying to you about who was involved in 9/11. They blame Saddam, and it was in fact the Saudi Arabians. And that's the kind of stuff that I see. And I think to myself, are you trying to do that to me again? ? Your thoughts?
Yes, that's interesting that you brought up 9/11, because right after that happened, I thought I believed the narrative.
So did I. So did I.
I trusted the narrative, and I was like, okay, we get it. And then it was not but a few years after that I started questioning everything.
And you should.
Everything that government did.
Look, the Gulf of Tonkin, we can go back historically to the Maine, when the Maine blows up in the harbor in Havana that starts the Spanish-American War. The Spaniards did not blow up the Maine. But I'm at this point, the murders of Malcolm X, Dr. King, JFK, Bobby Kennedy.
All of them.
All of it. And I don't believe in the Warren Commission. The 9/11 Commission is bigger, I shouldn't say bigger hooey, because it's tough to out-hooey the Warren Commission, but The 9/11 Commission is just a joke. And they suppressed parts of it.
And I was a Bush supporter, both of them, and until after 9/11, and then I started questioning everything.
Should.
And what I really question is, why is our government doing this to us?
Well, in the case of in the Middle East, whether it's Herbert Walker's war or W's war, it was about oil. And anybody that tells you anything else, it's nonsense. That was an oil war, and then it was an attempt to, for whatever reasons, and George W. Bush should be on trial. He should be sitting on Dick Cheney's lap when they try him. But Lyndon Johnson lied. Richard Nixon lied. You know, there's very few American presidents that ever told you the truth, or me the truth. And so it's almost like I don't trust the media. I don't trust the elected officials. You know, there's a couple of guys I've known that have held office that I hold in esteem. Other than that, I don't revere any of these people, and I did when I was a kid. And that's the difference, I think, now where we are. Good call. Thank you very much for your time. We got something else I'd like to play. You know, we haven't played Candace Owens, and Candace Owens is taking more heat. I've been reading about her for the last couple of days. And do you want to play her? You want to, this 303-696-1971. Lines are open. 70 will be the high. Spotty showers and 72 on Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been watching and reading this woman for now about 3 days. This is Candace Owens.
Now, I can tell you the part that he is telling the truth about is that Charlie's neck indeed did stop the bullet without question. Okay. And this is going to dispel a lot of theories that are out there. And I'm telling you this 100%. Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit. And at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week. Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? We went in here where you saw that, and it was stopped, and a fragment was pulled from, think right, if you're just touching your spine in line with your shoulder blade. That leads us, obviously, to the part that he's maybe not being forthcoming about. They did not recover a bullet from a .30-06. They didn't recover a bullet from a .30-06. It just didn't happen, okay? If they had found a .30-06 bullet, Charlie's death certificate certainly would have reflected that. In suicide situations, as just one example, medical examiners, feel free to chime in. I've spoken to quite a few. But when the gun and the bullet are known, they are reflected onto the death certificate, okay? There is not one reflected onto Charlie Kirk's death certificate because they did not recover a bullet from a .30-06. Hunters and military men rejoice. It turns out that common sense still rules the roost, okay? You guys were right. You were absolutely right. And this is why I hate politics, because it requires us to submit to the idea that we were all somehow born yesterday, that it really can just, life really can just be a Marvel comic with people that are, I guess, a DC comic where there are men of steel that are able, because they're young, to stop 3,000 pounds of energy that is coming at them. That didn't happen. So where does that leave us, guys? Well, the part that is now extraordinarily suspicious is that Andrew is claiming that he had a conversation with the surgeon who offered up the idea that it really was just your modern Christian miracle, that Charlie was just young and his bones had a lot of density, which made him stronger somehow than a Cape Buffalo. Enough push-ups and asparagus, and you too can stop 3,000 pounds of energy coming at you. What are we to make of that? What are we to make of the fact that Charlie did not do that, actually? It means that he was shot with a completely different kind of gun, obviously, okay? The kind where this would make sense, that it didn't cut through him. The kind where it would make sense that outside of an artery effectively exploding from the front, there was, his neck didn't explode, which that particular weapon that they were trying to tell us Charlie was killed with would have gone through about 7 necks, okay?
That is Candace Owens. My expert and my good friend Alan Samuel coming up. We'll talk about the rifle. Dan Caplis Law, and I suggest, and Danny suggested, who you choose as your attorney, someone, first of all, who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you and to everybody in the case. Dan Caplis, of course, his dad's a cop. We've been through all the different things about Danny growing up. He is a good man. He's my friend. Dan's believed to be the only attorney in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdict cases in Colorado crash cases. Danny believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Official law firm, partner of the Nuggets, and now the Avalanche. Danny Caplis' firm, Dan Caplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis, and so he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to pay. If you need help, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplislaw.com. It's CAPLISlaw.com, dancaplislaw.com, CAPLISlaw.com. All right, so many different things. The wall is running. We have jam lines. Do we have enough time? No, we have 2 minutes. All right, we'll start. Dean in Denver. Dean, if I don't complete, I'll put you on hold. You're on the show. Good morning.
Well, I just want to comment, as you made a comment that all of our presidents have lied to us consistently, and I just don't accept that at all.
Well, do you understand what I said? I said some don't, but most have. Why? What bothers you?
That you're making a colossal statement.
No, I'm not. I'm making a historically referenced statement, and I mentioned the lies I was talking about.
Well, the other thing is relative.
So is that easy to drive by? Dean, is that easy for you to drive by after confronted? Did the Bushes tell you the truth?
No.
Let me continue. Did Lyndon Johnson tell you the truth? Did Richard Nixon tell you the truth?
In the majority, they've told us.
Richard Nixon never told you the truth, and neither did Lyndon Johnson.
Well, I want to go back. To Kirk.
No, you brought this up. Do you want to confront it, or do you just drive by? You want to drive by it?
No, I don't want to drive by.
Okay, what do you want to do?
You're an expert in obfuscation.
Oh, okay, well, no, you said they don't lie. I said, here's the examples, and now you're saying something else negative about me.
No, I think. Well, you did. You made.
I'll put you on hold. I'll bring you back. Hang on. 710. Put him on hold. 710 KNUS. When we come back, we will have Alan Samuel with us, and the caller will be there. That's interesting. Confronted. See what happens. Stay here. Charlie Pride. Kiss the Angel. You're picking them, man. Taking me back to disc jockey days. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. It's a Saturday morning, October the 11th, 2025. Lines are jammed, and the topic, of course, is the death of Charlie Kirk. A lot of what's being talked about is the gun itself. You want me to bring him on? Do you want to bring? I got him. This is. I don't know anybody that knows as much about firearms and competitive shooting, and has become a great friend and a good teacher for me. Welcome to the show, the one, the only Alan Samuels here. Thanks, Bubba. I know you're really busy. Thanks for coming on the show and working with us this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Peter. I appreciate it.
Well, we haven't even had a chance to talk, but there's been so much talk about this rifle that was used to, we're told, used to take the life of Charlie Kirk. One of the things that was interesting to me, and I read it last night, this alleged killer never got a hunting license in his life. Now, that doesn't mean he can't shoot, but there's no record of him getting a hunting license, and it was his granddad's gun. So I just turn it over to you. Somebody has your expertise. When you've seen and listened to this, what do you walk away with?
I mean, the interesting thing, I guess, from the weapons perspective is not a typical assault weapon that the media always raves about relative to any sort of shooting, and it's a Mauser 98, which was a firearm that was used extensively in World War II, and a lot of soldiers brought them back, and a lot of them were imported after the war. And the most popular thing to do with them was to, quote, sporterize them. You brought them back to this country. They were in 8mm Mauser, which is the same caliber that an MG-42 machine gun, which you see in mine, was chambered in. And then they were sporterized, so they were converted to different calibers that were more popular in America, like the 30-06, which is, still a very popular hunting caliber. So they were made into very inexpensive hunting rifles, and there was a whole industry around that. So that's, sort of where that gun came from, and where, why it was so old, and why they're saying there might not be records and what have you on it. Because back in the day, you used to be able to have those shipped to your house mail order. I think I saw ads like in the 50s selling them for $49.
That ended
in Mauser 98.
Yeah, that ended after Oswald allegedly bought his Carcano mail order, and after that they stopped. They stopped it after Kennedy.
Right. So this appears, again, I'm just looking at the same information that you have, reading what's been publicly stated about the rifle, that it was an old Mauser 98 that had been sporterized to 30-06, and a very popular hunting rifle that's, I don't know how many millions of those in various calibers. Like, a good example is if I go into my father's firearms closet, he has two Mauser 98 actions. I believe they're both in 7mm Remington, which is what he used to hunt deer with when he was young in upstate New York. And that's what people did back then. They took those inexpensive platforms and built a nice hunting rifle out of it.
Is that an easy shot? I mean, I was looking, and this is from the internet, there's no evidence that he ever got a hunting license, which doesn't mean anything, but doesn't seem to be any evidence that he was a practiced shooter. So,
well, here's the thing. Let's put it this way, Peter. Let's say Grandpa sighted it in, at 100 yards for deer season or what have you, and he picked up that rifle and didn't do anything with it. It had a scope on it, a 200-yard shot from a solid fixed position, not offhand, so you're not dealing with the variables of you moving and what have you. Probably, honestly, with an unskilled person and a decent scope, it's probably, I hate to say it, but not that difficult.
Okay.
And the other thing too, you notice the shot was low. I'm I'm only going to guess here that he was probably aiming for the head, and it was a down angle shot, so the bullet impacted low. The one thing that like watching the videos that I've seen a million times that kind of, and again, I'm not an expert of, ballistics and bullet entries and that sort of stuff in the people, but when I looked at that video, the thing that got me was I figured there would be a lot more collateral damage from the hit from a 30-06.
That's what Candace Owens said. Yes.
Yeah, and that's the only thing, as someone who's spent a lot of time in the firearms industry, that's the one thing I noticed. Making the shot, I don't think is that difficult if Grandpa had sighted in the gun. I mean, you know me, I've taken you out shooting and tried to teach you and other people, and we've taken utter novices and had them make shots beyond 200 yards in the same day that we're out shooting with a little bit of education. So with a little bit of training, that's not improbable. The thing that got me was really just a lack of more destruction, on contact. So making me think that potentially the bullet was, a frangible round, which is a round that's designed to disintegrate on impact. It's something that you use quite a bit. Actually, law enforcement uses it quite a bit for shoot houses and what have you. It's like a lot of the bullets turn almost like into sand when they impact a hard target, so that you don't have as much collateral damage, penetrating walls.
Would he have known to do that?
I don't know. I mean, again, all of this. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, did someone give him some specialized rounds? And again, if you're not a trained shooter and you didn't zero that gun with the actual ammunition that you were going to shoot versus what Grandpa's ammunition was, who knows? But that's the one thing that sort of just stuck out to me. I expected a lot more damage on impact.
Our guest, the one and only Alan Samuel, you said something in the opening that I hadn't thought of. The media always expects it to be a black gun. And this gun could have been made in the 30s, could it not?
Yeah, I mean, more likely 40s or after, just because after World War II we saw an influx of those actions. That's just my guess. Again, I have no information and I'm postulating here. But, I mean, if we go to, looking at old rifles that are for sale from Grandpa's hunting guns collection, those are, on the whole U.S., you're going to find those because of the lineage, where they came from.
Sure.
People brought them back from World War II. As a matter of fact, this is a weird a story, but this just happened at the store yesterday. A gentleman walked in, was a Mauser 98 Action, completely disassembled in a box, and with all of the paperwork, including where his grandfather was legally allowed to take that as a trophy, a war trophy from World War II, and take that serial number home. And so the gentleman was trying to, get an estimated value, and I said the gun would be worth more if you had the complete gun that your grandfather bought back. So for me, the interesting part was that he had all the paperwork from the U.S. Army showing that this soldier was allowed to legally take serial number XX, whatever, back to the United States. And here it was in the box, and he's handing it to me. And I go, that's kind of a cool family historical piece,
One of my best friends growing up that I just recently spoke with, Sam Migloretti, his father was actually in the infantry when they took the bridge at Remagen. And he was just a great man, took care of me when I was a kid, took us hunting. He had one. They had somehow, and I never put it together, his deer rifle was a Mauser, and it was his son is, I grew up there, they used to call it a war souvenir, is what it's,
right.
And, but he had it sporterized, the words you're using, and he deer hunted with that rifle as long as he took me, and I was, from being a kid, and then going to deer camp with him when I was 16 years old. So, no, they were out there. There's so much talk now about the rifle itself, but the Mauser 98, as you are saying, doesn't require an expert to be accurate, and it was more than just a lucky shot. And anything else you want to add to it?
No, I mean the one thing that like I said, I mean it's drilling this point home. The one thing is what was the ammunition that was used and what was recovered. And again, we'll never know that. But I had questions on that because I figured there would have been a lot more collateral damage with a shot in the neck, a lot more explosive nature, a lot more just, I mean, I hate to say it, but a much larger entry and exit was what I would have expected to see on the video. And when I didn't, that's why I was confused, as there was specialty ammunition used. And again, we'll never know unless that information gets released to the public. But that was my one takeaway, was I just didn't understand why it wasn't more catastrophic on the entry and exit.
Since you worked for us this morning, give a plug for this. It's a great store. It's Machinegun Tours. Give a plug, please.
Oh yeah, Machinegun Tours. We're located at 12550 West Colfax Avenue in Lakewood, Colorado, right over by Denver West Colorado Mills Mall. And if you're looking for anything firearms related, or you'd like to come out and shoot some machine guns with us, give us a call or stop by.
I love you. Thank you. We'll talk ASAP. Alan Samuel, everyone. Thanks, brother. Thanks for coming on the show.
Talking to you, Peter.
Thanks, Bubba. All right, it's Saturday, October the 11th. We'll go back to Dean. He stayed on the line. Dean, thank you very much. You're back and you're on the air.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about exactly what Alan said. I totally agree. 30-06, I was surprised that it was more collateral damage with that. But I concur exactly with what Alan said about the gun and so forth. But and that fella had practiced. There were targets found in his apartment, so he had practiced at the local gunnery range.
There were pictures. Right? There were pictures of their family picnics, and they took not that gun, but there were guns at the family picnics.
Yeah, well, they showed targets. I saw targets on TV that he had actually shot at the local gun range.
How long do you think he planned? I mean, there's all these different scenarios. To do something like this?
Well, I think from his roommate as well as himself, the homosexual bit definitely provided itself for the demonic to make such an attempt, because he felt definitely that Kirk was on the opposite side of his position.
That's true.
And that's totally what I think personally motivated him to do that. And it's horrific.
Do you make him out, by the way, do you make him out to be gay? We've had this discussion off air, and I wanted to bring it on air, but, gently into that good night. So his lover is transgendered.
Correct.
They got the same equipment.
Correct.
Are they? Go ahead.
I think he was in the roommate was in the process of change.
But he still had not. I learned this, the difference between transgendered and transsexual. Transgendered, they use a term called present. They present as women, but they're men. Transsexual is they've had the operation. My understanding is the roommate is transgendered.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah. So he was well on the road.
So what does it make the shooter? Is he gay?
Certainly influenced in that regard, and he had an emotional relationship with his roommate that was such that it could have motivated him to such an act. I think.
Yeah. What do you believe overall? I mean, and why do you think I apologize for getting off on the wrong foot. Do you think that this is just business as usual, all the conspiracy theories, or do you think there's something to this?
No, I just think that, as we've spoken, that was the motivation. And be that as it may, I think it borders on the demonic. I mean, transgenderism was practiced in Babylon. That wasn't anything new. What we see in this country today is not new.
Nothing's new. That's the reason you read history, is to see
correct
the outcome of the outcome of the last time we did this.
Right.
And the last.
And you read.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You read in Daniel, first and second chapter of Daniel, his prophecy to Nebuchadnezzar. You recognize the thoroughness of that prophecy. It goes way. It comes to current time, in the fingers, or in the toes, excuse me, of iron and clay, showing that the European coalition can't agree.
One thing is for sure. Old Testament, Torah, Quran, Greek tragedies, Greek comedies, and Shakespeare. There are no other themes.
Well, I believe and expose the Old Testament as Word of God.
Oh, and indeed,
as well as the New.
But the themes there are no other themes. That's it. And history is repetitive. And I'm sorry we got off on the wrong foot, Dean. Have a good day, man. Thanks.
You too, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Back and taking calls right after this.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, October 22nd, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 9565 South University Boulevard in Highlands Ranch. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, October 22nd at IHOP.
commitment, or I would say integrity, as it relates to Charlie Kirk, his family, and TPUSA. The stuff that's being said is so inappropriate and so nonsensical to me. Out of just respect for Charlie's life and legacy, I don't understand why people are coming up with these conspiracies. They're coming after Erica. They're coming after Turning Point USA. It's just mind-boggling to me.
That's Officer Tatum. Remember, he used to do the afternoons here on 710 KNUS. Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Boyles. This is 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. Our lines are jammed. It's going to be, it says, spotty showers or spotty storms, 70 the high, but tomorrow's going to be beautiful. Again, messaging, so glad you're wading into this area, especially with Candace, who I love. She hits all the three rails. No way that kid acted alone. That text message was so contrived. That kid refers to his dad as the old man, great radio. Lines are jammed. We go to Ralph in Colorado Springs. You waited, thanks, and good morning.
I think I'm off speaker.
Please get off.
Peter!
Yo!
Am I or not?
I think you are.
Okay. Peter, you fellow cynic. Basically, I really enjoyed watching Penn and Teller last night. One of the things was they had advice. Of course, this is Teller, or excuse me, Penn. But fundamentally, when you watch a magician, first of all, don't listen to his palaver.
Never.
Secondly, never watch his face. Third, always watch his hands. And even then, you may not be able to totally fool us. I think we need to do the same thing with regard to whatever's going on in the U.S., and that is watch people's hands. I have Mr. Samuel really hit the ball out of the park as far as I'm concerned. We won't go into why, but fundamentally, I don't believe the story. But then again, I'm a Vietnam vet, and that was probably the last time I believed the story coming out of government anyway.
We were talking about that, I believed the Warren Commission report was true. I read Mark Lane's book, Rush to Judgment, the first of the critiques. And now what do you think? There's 100 books, 150 books talking about the truth of Jack Kennedy and Dealey Plaza. And the beat goes on from there. But that was where, and as I mentioned, I later met Mark Lane, but the point of this is I was that kid that believed, like you're talking about, this was all the truth. Now, I don't believe anything, and so it sets us up, doesn't it?
Exactly. But Peter, I mean, that's the thing. It's sort of like, it's called aging, maybe.
Also experience. I mean, I've learned from these people. They're capable.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, I believed in the Tonkin Bay incident until an intelligence officer off one of the carriers basically gave me the down and dirty, it was all BS.
Didn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how many people got killed of Americans?
My God.
Not Vietnamese, but then as well. The bottom line is basically this. Charlie Kirk is dead. Now, the question is, why was he killed? And perhaps the second most important question is, who killed him? Frankly, we are supposed to believe the story that's coming out of Washington and the investigation. Okay, fine. That's the words of the magician. You look at the hands, and Mr. Samuel, I think, was right on point. I'm a Missouri hillbilly. He knows far more about guns, rifles than I do, but it all seemed to fit together. And what you have to do is basically not believe almost anything that you hear. As the saying was in Vietnam, believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see.
And read. That was the other half.
And read. And read, yes, because reading is basically putting speech in a form it cannot be changed from. Although you will discover later on that things that are written, for example, the weapons of mass destruction in that Saddam had?
In Iraq. No, of course, it was a lie. It was a lie.
Exactly. But the thing is, think about, and well, my point is basically, think about Yitzhak Rabin, the Prime Minister of Israel, who was assassinated not by a Palestinian, but by a Israeli.
Sure, but they both of those guys, Sadat was killed by Egyptians.
Exactly. And the thing is, the leader was not, how shall I say, radical or rabid or...
Enough.
Enough, exactly.
Oh.
And that's what I'm thinking about Charlie Kirk, is that the destruction is, oh boy, the left did it, the left did it, the left did it. Really? Look back, look at the hands, look at what we're not being told. And the bottom line for me is that the lies themselves backtrack the lies, backtrack what we're being told. If you take as a point that the first thing is we are being lied to, then you look at the lie and turn it upside down.
Yeah, well, because we're coming up close on time.
Yep.
Do you believe the official story on Jack Kennedy?
No.
Dr. King?
No.
Malcolm X, because that obviously Louis Farrakhan's directly involved with the murder of Malcolm X, but most people.
I don't know about. That was not something I got into.
Well, I did, and much later in my life. But the point of it is most people were afraid because to say those things. But Bobby Kennedy, do you believe the official Bobby Kennedy story? There's too many good books about all of that.
Well, I believe the shooter was the shooter, but that's about it.
Yeah, or what? But in and of itself.
Well, but then you come back, and I'm going to give you one little thing to think about, and that is, look, step back and take a look, not at the trees, but the whole forest. Fundamentally, democracies tend to go to tyranny after 200 and so years.
I think it's 250.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
250 is the popular number, but, plus or minus.
Right.
Okay.
Do it quick. We're coming up on time.
Look at the deep state. The process has not been to destroy the deep state at all. The process has been for whoever the politician that wins the election for president is to take it over. And I think we're just simply on that old historical path.
Well,
Charlie Kirk got in the way.
Yeah, well, that's one of the theories that I want, when we get back on the other side, you got to listen to Tucker Carlson. He appears, and again, Tucker Carlson, we'll set it all up, but listen to what he says, and we'll try and examine that. As always, thank you, sir. How close are we to the turn? We got a minute. 303-696-1971. There was one line open. Was there a conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk? And it's blown up, and you can hear it this morning on the show. You got to hear this Tucker Carlson when he's doing a eulogy and the things that he says, and it's bizarre. And listen, he does this cackle laugh. We'll play that on the other side. It is going to be 70 and spotty showers and sunny tomorrow, so all is well in the world. 303, got the number, 303. Lines are jammed. No, one line's open, 303-696-1971. Saturday morning, October the 11th, 2025. You ready, pal? It's all yours.
Mostly cloudy skies on this Saturday across the Denver Metro. We'll have a few leftover showers during the day, then skies will clear up more into tonight. Highs today will be in the mid-70s with lows low 50s. Sunny skies mid-70s on Sunday. Lows going to drop to the low 40s Sunday night. Skies will be clear. Cold front will cool us off somewhat into Columbus Day. Sunny breezy for Monday with highs mid-60s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call 720-851-1691 or visit them online at besteverhvac.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
believe it. Good morning again, everyone. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. I'm Peter Boyles. We do Saturday mornings. It's the October 11th edition. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather beauty. It says spotty showers and 70, but tomorrow, motorcycles, 72 will be the high, and then 67 on Monday. We've had jammed lines, put a couple of days' work into this show, and it's out there, and it's running hard on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, as I mentioned in doing this in the open, but I do want you to hear this Tucker Carlson piece. The United States has been, in my lifetime, been shaken 3 times by targeting or killing, if you would, high-profile public figures. And, of course, the first is John Kennedy, 1963, November, and then civil rights leader Dr. King in 68, and now Charlie Kirk. But in the meantime, all these, well, of course, President Lincoln, but in all of this, we have, again, Malcolm X, and there's Bobby Kennedy, and a number of George Wallace, the attempts on George Wallace. The nation has struggled with this. And now comes this, and the conspiracy theories have begun. Whether they are true or not, I don't know that I don't know how many people I've never met that believe the Warren Commission. I don't know anybody who believes the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. I don't know of anybody that believes the nonsense that came out of Dick Cheney and George Bush, because you got to lead with Dick Cheney about weapons of mass destruction. We can do Gulf of Tonkin resolution. You can compare that to the USS Maine and Havana and the harbor that triggers, of course, the Spanish-American War, and the beat goes on. And all of a sudden you have a realization, wow, the government lies to me, and in fact, constantly has lied to me. But now comes this moment, and if you know the history of Tucker Carlson, the last, 2 years, Tucker Carlson was one of the leading advocates of the idiocy of the stolen election. And when the time comes, when Fox News has to pay, and there's books being written, and books have been written about how Rupert Murdoch makes his decision. But Dominion, their lawyers, there was another demand in this, and that was for a scalp, and the scalp was that of Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson gets jettisoned by a place that he was doing extremely well for, but in fact, much like this radio station, the parallels are striking. There were people who lied and got this radio station sued, and the company paid significant money, and these people have just drifted away. Sadly, they have just been able to drift away. So Tucker Carlson is a friend of Charlie Kirk's, and he's invited to come to it wasn't what was more of a celebration of his life. It was in a big arena. The same, I believe it was where the Arizona Cardinals play their football games. And he gives this eulogy, and it's bizarre. And I've listened to it now, watched it 3 or 4 times, some things to listen to if you've not heard it before. Tucker Carlson repeatedly says these things. He likens Charlie Kirk to Jesus, and the assassination to the men who killed the man worshipped by, of course, millions of Christians. And he goes on to say, listen for this, where he says, "This is my favorite story ever." And he goes on to talk about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and starts talking about the people in power. And, of course, Charlie Kirk talked about the people in power. And he goes on to say that these people in the room eating hummus, I've listened to it so many times I know what he said, and they said, we got to do something about this guy, so we're going to kill him. And it's been taken that what Tucker Carlson's talking about is a Jewish conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. And the link between the story and the allegations against Israel are clear. So, without further ado, listen to this. This is Tucker Carlson at the funeral, the eulogy for Charlie Kirk.
It actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Everything is inverted.
Is Tucker Carlson blaming Jews for killing Charlie Kirk? What a weird eulogy. All right, good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS Denver's talk station. We go back to the phones. In Divide, Colorado is Dave. Hey, Dave, you waited. Thank you. You're on the show. Good morning.
Thanks, Peter. Good to hear your voice, and I like hearing from Ralph, too. Two wise men. I got something here that might help clarify Tucker Carlson, and I want to mention just a few of the things I'd heard and then give you my experience from that day. Okay, I've heard everything from out-of-state plates were at the shooter's home, but in Utah, that's nothing unusual. Half the family lives there, the other half scatters across the country, the world. I'd heard the rifle scope wasn't mounted properly. I heard a timeline in St. George that he went down there and had to come. That's 2.5 hours away from Orem. In fact, St. George sits in the northern tip of the valley that Las Vegas sits in. So it's like desert down there. I believe they filmed some of the Jeremiah Johnson movie down there. But anyways, so there's also a lot of online chatter. I think what Tucker might be alluding to was there was more people than just the shooter that knew September 10th was going to happen. Now, that morning, I happened to be the last caller on the Bill and Jeff show, and I forget what the topic was, and this is right before Charlie Kirk's show. And I'd heard about Charlie Kirk, hadn't really gotten time to listen to him. But anyways, I gave this quote. I was the last caller on their show, and whatever the topic was made me think of it. It says, successful wickedness hath obtained the name virtue when it is for the getting of the kingdom. That's from Thomas Hobbes. He lived in 1588. And
sure.
So I decided after the show, I was going to sit down and listen, really sit down and devote some time to this guy I'd heard about Charlie Kirk. I sit down, no Charlie Kirk because he's in Orem, and there was somebody covering his show. Mm-hmm. So I listen, and then pretty soon we have reports out of Orem, Utah that Charlie Kirk's been shot. Now, I did think about a day or two after, I thought, how many people went to Jerusalem to hear this guy called Jesus only to witness a trial and a crucifixion and all that? And that's all I can really say about it. I found it very interesting that finally I was going to listen to this guy and get to really hear this wise man, and bam, he's gone. So that's all I really got to share.
No, listen, that's very good, because I've begun, I don't know if I call it a reading, a history, a chase, and I am not much of a believer of anything, but I've been trying, and it's really interesting. You can do so in a lot of books, a lot of really great historians, to look for the historic Jesus. I mean, other things aside, and it seems to me from about the last 6-7 months of reading, most reputable historians believe this man lived, and he walked, and he was there. But he was in Jerusalem a very short amount of time, and in his life, and he vanishes. But there's no. And one of the things I came across that was really interesting, and you sound like a man with belief. These historians that I'm reading now say, we always said, or I always was taught, Jesus was a carpenter, and it's some misinterpretation. His father was. They called him a carpenter. His father was a carpenter. I said no. His father was a builder, and in that part of the world, in that time period, they were principally stonemasons, and he, to a high degree of probability, understood woodworking, but he wasn't. They built from stone, which I thought, I know it's meaningless, but at the same time, I thought it was pretty significant that all these years you hear, carpenter, and may not have been. But, and the shepherd part of it, I'm reading the Bible, looking there are these themes. Shepherd is a great theme. I never put this together, which shows you how stupid I am. But how many people are shepherds? And, Moses was a shepherd. I don't believe Moses existed, but he is a shepherd.
David was a shepherd.
Abraham was a shepherd. And the shepherds came to the nativity, and we see shepherds again. And shepherds, I don't, till you start to really read something critically, but how many times shepherds show up?
And Jesus came from David's line. The thing that got me was that quote it made me think of what we endured with the 4 years of Biden. Successful wickedness hath obtained the name virtue when it is for the getting of the kingdom. And I just found that really bizarre.
But we were mentioning Nixon, and we've talked to others. And one of the things that's really interesting, too, that again, from my reading, that they're going to be taxed. And this is really just a way that they want to know how much money people have so they can get money from them. But that Joseph had to go to where he was from. And these historians, and again, I'm certainly not one, but a reader, that was where his family was. And he would have not been turned away. I thought that was fascinating. And the story that I was told as a boy, as a kid, that they were turned away, so they went to the manger. I think I said, that wouldn't have happened. That was your family. And your family would have taken you in. I mean, just nickel dime stuff like that. But to me, a geek with nothing else to do in the afternoon but read, I thought it was fascinating stuff. And it's certainly not hidden, but it was just incredible for me to see that stuff. And all the things that we once were told were not what we were told, or probably didn't exist. And a star plays out in all kinds of different primitive faith. There's the star again, and again. And I don't know. It's just it's for an old guy to read that stuff. It's real interesting to read. Not to read the court historians, but rather the rogues, the deep divers. It's good stuff. And I'm an old guy. So
me too.
That's what old guys do, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it was good stuff. You're a good call. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man. Be safe.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. We go to Don and Aurora. Don, you're on the radio show. And then I got to read a bunch of text messagings. Hey, Don.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey. Good morning, Uncle Pete. How's it going?
My boy. I'm good, actually. It's Saturday morning.
Well, I decided to call, and I'm going to make some people mad, so let me just get right on it. The populist right, which I consider Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson to be part of, I just have a hard time taking them seriously.
By the way, let me ask you, what did you think of what Tucker Carlson said at the eulogy? That was bizarre. It was bizarre, wasn't it?
It was disrespectful. Okay, I mean, the person I really do feel sorry for in all this is, is Charlie Kirk's wife and her kid.
Have you read? I didn't want to bring that up, but there are people saying all kinds of stuff about that on the show.
I mean, this woman had to bury her husband, and he was a young guy.
Oh, 31.
Yeah, she's got kids. All the craziness that has to go through that.
Yeah,
and she's got to put up with this madness. I'm sorry. I'm starting to get a little agitated about this, but
good.
I can't take these people seriously. I just can't. And by and large, and this is not everybody, but by and large, the populist right are made up of evangelical Christians. I'm not saying they're all evangelical Christians, but it's a pretty sizable percentage.
In reading to get ready for the show, the left of the political spectrum has its conspiracy theories on the murder of Charlie Kirk, and the right, led by Tucker Carlson and others, they have a whole set of other things. So there seems to be two approaches to this man's murder, one from the left and one from the right.
Yeah, well, there's a guy I listened to who once referred to that they had the populist left and the populist right. Okay. And let me back up a little. I can't take either one of them seriously. There's a guy I've mentioned before named Peter Zion, and he calls himself an environmentalist who can do math. Most of the populist left can't do basic math.
Well, neither can I. I can't do math either.
At least you make an attempt. These people don't even try.
Yeah.
I go back to this thing I've said before about Barry Goldwater once saying, it's religious. He called it the religious right. He said if these people ever get their hands on the levers of part of the Republican Party, it was going to cause an awful mess.
Do you know
that? And it really had.
I got an interview with Barry Goldwater. It was a phoner. I was telling somebody about this last night at dinner, and Barry Goldwater, by the way, was just a great interview, and he had an edge to him, and he said, they said about me, he was talking about Lyndon Johnson and the Democrats, he said that if I won, he said young American men would be in the jungles of Vietnam, and there would be riots in the street of America. He said, I lost. That was great. I mean, he rolled me on that one. He said, and I lost. And of course, all of it happened. He do with that as you may. He was one of the guys. He's one of the guys that went and told Nixon it was time to go too.
Yeah, well, two of the great politicians, three of the great politicians, is Barry Goldwater, FDR, and Harry Truman.
I'm going to let me put him on hold. I'm going to give you, because I got my pause coming. Donnie will put you up on 303-696-1971. We started the show with jam lines. There is one line open right now. If you've been trying to call and got a busy signal, jump in, 303-696-1971. We'll play some more cuts on the other side. Was there a conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk? And it's set the internet on fire, talk radio, if done right. 70 will be the high, 72 tomorrow, 67 on Monday. You ready? Let's hit the bricks. Here we go. Sly Stone. One of my favorite songs. They took so much heat because their band had black players and white players. And people got upset at him. You can imagine that. He was a disc jockey. His sister Rose. Saturday morning, October the 11th. I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning, everyone. And talk to you about our friends at Water Pros. Water Pros cares about the quality of your water. You can remove forever chemicals, microplastics, hard water with Water Pros, the Pure Boyle Special. And here's the deal. You get a whole water softener, juice, reverse osmosis, drinking water. It's all fully installed. But before you take that step, take the free in-home consultation. You go to waterpros.net or in 303-862-5554. 303-862-5554. Please do this. And it's a gimme. They come and test your water. They'll tell you straight up. They'll come to your home and test your water and answer all your questions and concerns about your water. Start the process. Go to waterpros.net. Sign up for your free in-home consultation. It's a gimme. The Peter Boyle Special. 303-862-5554. 303-862-5554 or waterpros.net. Now, before we go back to the callers, this really, Candace Owens has really, well, kicked the sack, right? And this is, if you don't know who Candace Owens is, she is now in this giant row over conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And it's turned very murky. And, well, let's let her speak for herself, and then we'll go back to the calls. Ladies and gentlemen, she capitalizes this as good as anyone. Candace targets all of this. Here you go.
Now, I can tell you the part that he is telling the truth about is that Charlie's neck indeed did stop the bullet without question. Okay. And this is going to dispel a lot of theories that are out there. And I'm telling you this 100%. Charlie Kirk was shot from the front and the bullet did not exit. And at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week. Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? We went in here where you saw that, and it was stopped, and a fragment was pulled from, think right, if you're just touching your spine in line with your shoulder blade. That leads us, obviously, to the part that he's maybe not being forthcoming about. They did not recover a bullet from a 30-06. They didn't recover a bullet from a 30-06. Just didn't happen, okay? If they had found a 30-06 bullet, Charlie's death certificate certainly would have reflected that. In suicide situations, as just one example, medical examiners, feel free to chime in. I've spoken to quite a few. But when the gun and the bullet are known, they are reflected onto the death certificate, okay? There is not one reflected onto Charlie Kirk's death certificate because they did not recover a bullet from a 30-06. Hunters and military men rejoice. It turns out that common sense still rules the roost, okay? You guys were right. You were absolutely right. And this is why I hate politics, because it requires us to submit to the idea that we were all somehow born yesterday, that it really can just, life really can just be a Marvel comic with people that are, I guess, a DC comic where there are men of steel that are able, because they're young, to stop 3,000 pounds of energy that is coming at them. That didn't happen. So where does that leave us, guys? Well, the part that is now extraordinarily suspicious is that Andrew is claiming that he had a conversation with the surgeon who offered up the idea that it really was just your modern Christian miracle, that Charlie was just young and his bones had a lot of density, which made him stronger somehow than a Cape buffalo. enough push-ups and asparagus, and you too can stop 3,000 pounds of energy coming at you. What are we to make of that? What are we to make of the fact that Charlie did not do that, actually? It means that he was shot with a completely different kind of gun, obviously, okay? The kind where this would make sense, that it didn't cut through him. The kind where it would make sense that outside of an artery effectively exploding from the front, there was, his neck didn't explode, which that particular weapon that they were trying to tell us Charlie was killed with would have gone through about 7 necks, okay?
That is Candace Owens, and we'll go right back to the callers, but Candace Owens convinced Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk, and she's convinced there was an Israeli influence. And again, moments ago, we played Tucker Carlson. Do with that as you may. All right, back to my guy. Donnie, you're on the show, man. Thank you for waiting, and you're back up.
Yeah, and I also wanted to thank you for having the gentleman from Machinegun Tours on. He really confirmed some stuff for me. Because the people I listen to and the people I read to, that would not have been a difficult shot for anybody to make. But a lot of this hinges on the ammunition. I've been thinking about this, and obviously this kid got his grandfather's ammunition. So was it a reload that was botched? Was it some?
Don't know.
Yeah. But going back to Candace Owens, she did a 3 or 4 parter on Macron's wife.
I said Macron's wife was really a guy.
It was really a guy, and before she met Macron, before his president wife met Macron, she was married with 2 kids.
Yeah.
And Candace Owens, it's a really interesting piece if anybody's got some time to look at it. But Candace Owens mentioned that in the piece, but she kind of drove by that. So either that's actually her biological children, or if they're not, that would have been pretty easy to run down, and she never mentioned it.
I don't argue any of that. I'm kind of a pneumatic tube system here this morning, but what do you believe? That's really the principal question.
One, I believe this kid killed Charlie Kirk.
Okay.
The only variable is the ammunition, and I think that'll come out in the trial if there is a trial.
Why would there not be one? Just because
he just made his plead out and do his time.
There's a death penalty though. They say they're going to seek death, and you can't. If they're going to come after you on a death penalty, you can't cop. You got
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
No.
So if that's the case, then what's going on with the ammunition will come out at trial. But Candace, she's entertaining. She's obviously pretty smart.
Ooh.
And she's really easy on the eye.
Oh, she's strong. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Other than that, I just can't take the woman seriously. God bless her. But,
I mean, the Hollywood people. I don't know if like I said, I put 4 days into the show, and plus the other show, which tells you I really got to get a life. But Hollywood has spoken out in the wake of this as well, and again, we were talking about the right side and the left side, which I really do see this happening now, and I'm stuck. I tend to believe what you believe, but it is something that it's really worthwhile. It's more about, I think, speaks more about our society.
I think it speaks more about our lack of faith in our institutions.
No,
lack of faith in our leadership.
but for good reason. I mean, I don't trust these people, not because I woke up this morning and said I don't trust these people. I don't trust these people because of all the years they've scammed me and a lot of other people.
I mean, the whole Epstein thing. I mean, that stinks a high heaven.
That's part of what Candace Owens believes, is that he was beginning to ask questions not only about Gaza, but asking questions about, okay, you promised Jeffrey Epstein papers and they're not there. And that's from the Hollywood side that said it's the Trump people that took his life because he was starting to dig into Epstein.
You can make an argument for that. I think it's a weak one.
No, it isn't. It isn't a question of weak or strong. It's a question of these. Belief is far more powerful than knowledge.
Oh yeah. But
go on, I'm sorry, please.
Donald Trump promised to release the Epstein files, and
that's
where are they?
And has not, right? So now what?
Yeah, now what? I'm clueless.
Apparently, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson's gone totally bad on those guys, and they make the claims that that Kirk wanted to see the Epstein files, was saying no, privately, and I think he and Tucker were friends. And I mean, this is at first blush. Do with it as you may.
Well, you can make a lot of arguments for a lot of things.
Yes, you can.
But I've come to the conclusion that Republicans in trouble in general, in particular, and the Western world's in trouble in particular. And I see none of this getting better. I look at my nieces and nephews. These guys are like in their 30s, and I got a grandniece in her 20s, and I'm wanting to know what's swimming around out there.
I'll tell you what, and my son and I were talking about it at my grandson's football game, and I said it is crazier right now than any part of the 60s. Agreed?
Yeah, I was a kid, but yeah.
I'm telling you,
this is going to go to some very bad places, and I got a friend of mine that neither one of us were never married, and neither one of us has kids, but it's something we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
But but sometimes I'm sitting there and I think to myself, thank God I don't have any children.
Take care of yourself, brother man. Thank you. To the wall, and I don't know what it means, but I'll read it. Keep sending your money to Trump World. Manhattan Jesus saves. All right, I'll try the one that just came in. Trump will release 9/11 files, Epstein files, and Kirk files if you just keep sending him more money. All right, back to the phones we go. Dean in Denver. Dean, you're on a radio show. It's a Saturday morning, and good morning. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Peter.
Brother?
Good show again, as
Thank
usual.
You. Thank you.
Anyhow, I just wanted to respond about Charlie Kirk, and I have a family member in law enforcement, and they were told that Charlie had a bulletproof vest on, and that bullet was stopped by the vest, and it was fragmented, and the fragment went up into the neck, of course, into the artery, and he bled to death. So, Candace Owens, I don't believe her theory. And if you want to check with your friend Alan Sampson, he's probably more of a ballistics expert than she is.
Oh, sure.
And he would probably agree with the fact that if that hit a vest, you had a couple weeks ago that sheriff from Larimer County that was hit in the arm.
Yep.
And he had put his ceramic pieces in his vest, his armor in ahead of time. Well, it didn't hit him in that. It just went right through his arm. And so he knows about that, too.
Here's the
question. That's why they wear that.
Let me bounce this off you, too. You're a good call. Thank you. I have read and I've listened to people that I respect on this story that say he was, and this is horrible to say, but I'll say it, he was dead before he hit the ground.
Probably so. Yeah, because there was no medical device there, and there wasn't very many law enforcement either. They said there was only a half a dozen that were sent there to the campus. And, the kid has turned himself in.
I think his folks played out pretty strong in that.
Sure, his folks and a family member
A minister
of the family
Yeah.
that talked him into turning himself in. So it's not like they're just seeing somebody and saying, "Oh, he did it." I mean, he turned himself in, and then they have photos and evidence that way. So I don't know, but yeah, it's hard to. You can come up with a lot of conspiracy theories because I don't believe all the JFK stuff and with Johnson especially.
See?
And so
May-
it
let
makes
me-
you
let-
wonder.
can I ask you, Dean, how old are you?
Well, I'm 10 years younger than you. So, and I came home from school and watched that on TV on November, the 22nd.
Yes, it was.
And I watched all those films over
And
over
believe,
and over.
and early, I'm being told I got 30 seconds, but we early on believed it. And then by now, as old men, or at least I'm an old man, I don't believe a damn thing that they say or do.
I didn't believe it then. My dad did, but
Yeah,
I didn't.
I did.
saw it and I heard it, and they played it over and over.
Listen, I got to jump. I love it, man. Thanks. Great call. Everyone stay here. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, October 22nd, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 9565 South University Boulevard in Highlands Ranch. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, October 22nd at IHOP.
Saturday morning, everyone. It's going to be 70 for a high, maybe some rain. Tomorrow, 72, sunny day. We'll ride sickles, and on Monday, 67 degrees. Read a couple text messaging. We'll go back to the phones. For the other listeners today, Candace never claimed to be an expert in ballistics or anything. She has lots of contacts to lean on to get on YouTube, and you can watch all the ballistics experts around the country and the world discuss how fishy this whole thing is. The next one. Also, it's sad that the legacy of Charlie Kirk has been reduced to just another conspiracy theory instead of his message. Fair enough. We go to the phones. Gary in Denver, you're on line one and you're on the show. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Pete. Gary, I talked to you yesterday, and I told you yesterday I was furloughed. Today I'm fired.
Yeah, the feds. You'll get hired.
Well,
You'll get hired back.
Oh no. Well, no, I'm done. I rode my last pony. I'm like you. I'm ready to sail into the sunset.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
But anyway, this conspiracy, the thing, just common sense. This kid, he's what, 23, 24 years old. He's looking at the death penalty. I mean, if there was a conspiracy or anyone else was involved, he'd be talking. He'd be telling them all about it.
Or if there is someone else involved and he doesn't know it, or, that's the twist and turn, or turns plural, when you drop into this way of thinking.
How could he not know?
I'm not defending him. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, these are mornings on radio that I call you become a pneumatic tube system. Your job, if you're going to do this job well, is spend about 3 or 4 days reading as much as you can, have somebody working with you as good as Adam, and then sit back. And I really don't have a position on this other than the government has spent most of my adult life lying to me. So,
but wouldn't you think? I mean, these people who come up with these conspiracies, don't you think they must ask themselves that question?
No.
Why this kid?
No, it's like the people that told me that the election was stolen, and I had to live through all of that. There's no evidence for that, but it didn't matter. And the people that perpetrated those lies slunk away or paid fines or any numbers of things, or are ashamed, or whatever it is that they, or maybe they're not ashamed. I have no idea. But you see the parallel in how conspiracies work and are damaging.
Yeah. Well, Pete, you're the master at letting these people go on, even though it's crazy.
It's good talk radio. Number one, it's number two, and who am I? There seems to be the internet. If you go on the internet, and it's the cesspool of misinformation, but it's also a brilliant place to spend your time and read. I mean, there are some really, really smart people that believe that this has taken place.
Oh yeah, they're making all kinds of money. They're clickbait.
Well, that could be as well, but if I didn't click, I'm guilty of that because I do want to read what they have to say.
I get it. All right, Pete.
All right, man. Thank you. We got Kevin in Conifer. Kevin, you're on the radio show. Thank you very much for calling, and good morning.
Hi there.
Hi there.
I sent you some photographs to Adam just a few minutes ago. On September 10th in the evening, suddenly a live feed, popped up on my screen on my phone, and people were saying that the shooter had been caught, and
they did
that
catch
the individual.
they did grab that one guy, and he wasn't the right guy.
No, this is different from that,
Oh,
as you'll
okay.
see from the photographs.
Okay.
This is a guy wearing dark pants, I think a jacket that's been taken off, so he has a white shirt underneath. He's wearing a ball cap.
I'm looking at
disheveled.
him. I'm looking at him.
And he was driving around
yeah.
Provo
Yeah.
with a suppressed rifle on his dashboard. And I tried to find any more information, and it's just empty. Not a word.
Is he the guy that they know him? He's like a gadfly. He's a political, quote-unquote, activist that the cops knew who he was. Is that the same guy?
I'm not sure. That this guy looks different from the other, certainly, who was taken in.
I'm looking at him now.
Processing the scene as though he was the shooter. They gloved up. They were taking swabs.
Mm-hmm.
They were treating it like he had just fired the rifle or it had been fired, and the story totally disappeared. Never heard another word about it. But it was right there in downtown Provo.
I like I say, I'm seeing this for the first time.
Yeah.
But this is what makes back to the last caller. This is what carries conspiracies.
Well, as the previous callers have referenced, the Dairy Queen has been gutted and it's just an empty shell of a building now. And I think it was about a week ago, they were showing live shots from the location where Charlie Kirk had been shot, and they were filling it in. There were probably 20 workers there filling it in with concrete and ripping out all the grass.
Yeah, I saw that story.
Totally covering up the scene.
Yeah,
usually when you have an incident, you want to preserve a crime scene, even up to trial, so that,
We'll play. There's another Candace Owens cut where she said that she claims that at the site of his death, they've laid down another surface.
Oh, yeah. I watched them do it. They were just laying down more concrete. And I thought, this does not seem correct for a crime scene of this significance.
And that's the cleaning up of the scene. Yeah. I mean, there's a really interesting book about Chappaquiddick and Teddy Kennedy and what they were able to do. You know, that car that Mary Jo died in, it was in the car crusher. It got crushed in less than 24 hours. That's the car that she died in.
Yep. And as you have referenced now as well with other significant assassinations like Martin Luther King, when they re-examined the evidence, they realized that Ray most likely could not have been there and done it. And that it was probably a conspiracy based on members of the FBI who wanted him silenced.
Well, there's a wonderful book entitled The Hellhound on His Tail. It's a line from a Robert Johnson blues song. But and this sounds crazy. I spoke with James Earl Ray. You could talk to him. He was in a place called Bushy Mountain, I think. And if you paid for the charges, you could get him on the show. And he was a dope. But the better guy was his brother. I interviewed his brother, and his brother said, "Look, let me tell you about my brother." He said, "My brother's he was a crook. He's a thief. He's an upstairs man." He said, "But he wasn't smart enough to do any of that stuff."
Yeah, he doesn't seem capable.
No,
or didn't.
And remember, he gets into Canada. He has a Mustang, he has a passport, and I think did he end up in a whorehouse in Spain or something? It was like
it was some crazy story.
Yeah, exactly. And and nobody bought James Earl Ray, but and of course, Lee Harvey Oswald stands alone. I don't know why when they killed Malcolm X, and we know who was behind it and who was responsible for it, and it was Elijah Muhammad, and then it was Louis Farrakhan, and they did that. I mean, they did that.
Yes. Yep. And the other thing that people often ignore is that when it comes to crime scenes, there can be coincidences that aren't related. So you could have potentially two shooters who both wanted to do the same thing on that day and were both there, at the same time.
Well, that's the argument. Dealey Plaza.
Yeah. Yes.
How many were there?
Yep. But it's I thought that you would find the images compelling.
They're great.
And since but that rifle, that's the other thing, is that rifle, when he fired, and you watch the Charlie Kirk video, a 30-06 would sound like a cannon going off. And if you listen very carefully, my very first impression was that's a suppressed rifle.
We are doing a turn, man. Thanks. Thank you. Great. 710 KNUS. Final hour. We say good afternoon after this, and we'll play some more cuts. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. Jumping over into the noon hour. Stay here.
Your 710 KNUS forecast this Saturday. Mostly cloudy skies and breezy, highs in the mid-70s. Tonight, partly cloudy, gusty with lows down to 55. Sunday, mostly sunny, breezy once again, highs near 75 degrees. Overnight lows down to 40. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
This is when we say good afternoon, everyone. 710 KNUS, Denver Stock Station. I'm Peter Boyles, and good morning. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather. It says spotty showers and 70, 72 on Sunday, motorcycle day. Monday, 67 degrees. Special thanks to Kelly Michaels. Send some pizza in for the troops. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Our phone number is 303-696-1971. We have been jam lines since we started the show at 9 o'clock. The issue this morning and this afternoon, was there a conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk? There have been and continues so much coming at us on the internet, on other parts of the media, principally, well, on cable, is now starting to talk about it, cable news. We've been playing some cuts. This one will make you think. It's back to Candace Owens again, and well, I'll just let it speak for itself, and then we'll go back to open lines. But this is Candace Owens, sort of part 2 or part 3, about what happened in the murder of Charlie Kirk.
A mere minutes after Charlie Kirk is shot, there are two men that look rather mysterious. They appear, they move his chair, and they take down the camera that's directly or was directly behind his head. Why did they do that? You can see, slowed down here, he pulls out the chair, he stands on it, and yes, that would be a big no-no for a crime scene. You don't move anything. He takes down the camera that is directly above where Charlie was sitting and would be able to provide, therefore, a lot of insight. And then you can see he kind of sits the camera onto the desk, and it looks like he removes the SIM card from it, or the SD card, if you will. So I'm going when I saw this footage, who is that? Like, actually, I should be able to figure this out because I've got a pretty big network at Turning Point USA. The person's wearing shades. I'm not recognizing the individual. And I reach out to somebody on the inside, and I'm just like, who's this person? And they tell me the person's name, and I go, oh, wait a second. And I look again. I'm like, I know this person because it's been a few years, but I know this person. This person's been around Turning Point for quite some time. And I'll say this right now. He was extremely forthcoming. Like, as soon as I reached out, I just sent a text because I still had his number. And he was extremely forthcoming, immediately got onto the phone. Then I asked, okay, well, what about this camera thing? Why would you grab the cameras? And he says, because the first thing that I thought is that I better secure the footage and be helpful and hand that footage over to the feds. Well, obviously, that's where things get into a pickle with me because we don't trust the feds. I'm like, just send me the footage. Please let me look at it. There's a lot of conspiracies that are floating around right now. People don't know what to believe. I said, look, I'm not going to publish it. I just want to see it. And I think you should let me see that because people trust me. They know that I'm very serious about this. So in the short run, he agrees that rather than send the footage, he will get onto a FaceTime call with me and he will show me the footage on his computer. He did that, and I watched the footage, and I'm going to tell you what I saw. First and foremost, there is nothing gory about this shot at all. And so again, I am still going to work with him to get me the footage so that I think it should be shared. There's nothing gory about this footage from the back. The thing that really stood out to me, and I just kept asking him to replay it over and over and over again, is that there's no blood from the back. I'm very confused, not by what I saw, but what I didn't see. Okay? That's pretty much all I can tell you right now.
There it is. Again, we've been playing Candace Owens off and on all morning here on 710 KNUS. We have a line open. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go long distance to Alaska. Hey, Jeff, thanks for calling the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pete. How you doing today? Great show.
For an old guy, not bad. What's the weather in Alaska this afternoon?
Every time I call you, I got blue skies.
See, what's the temp? What's the top?
Today it's going to get up to about 50 where we're at. I'm in southeast Alaska.
When will it start to really, really, really get cold?
In the interior of Alaska, it's starting now. Okay. It's starting to get cold. So I'm down here in this southeast tip down along the Pacific Ocean, and we don't get real hammered down here too bad. We do get cold, but it's not. We have a milder milder than Denver.
What's the coldest you've heard take in as a temp in Alaska that you've heard?
Oh, I've been in minus 50 without the wind chill.
Woo. Yeah. Wow.
Then you get on a snow machine and start doing 90, and the wind chill becomes, you read that chart and it says you're an idiot.
Well, see, now you used the term that I heard for the first time in Alaska, snow machine. We call them snowmobiles in the lower 48, but you guys say snow machines, right?
Any of the above. I used to live in Denver. You and I have ridden together a couple times.
Well, I thought you were the Jeff that I rode with. And, you know,
Yeah.
I heard for the first time an old-timer term for a windshield. You ever hear a windshield called on a motorcycle a wind splitter?
I've heard that, but yeah, that's real old.
Yeah, it's called a wind splitter. And I had a guy call the windshield. And the guy said, that's a wind splitter. And I did a double. I figured it made sense, but it's an old term, wind splitter.
Yeah. Well, in Canada, they call a snow machine a skidoo.
Well, wasn't that wasn't that a manufacturer, Skidoo?
Yeah, they still make them, Skidoos.
Well,
yeah.
I have another close friend that said, do they still give the oil checks? Do people still get the oil checks?
I don't know.
Well, at one time.
The PFD. We call it the PFD.
What? Tell me what it is. I mean, because I think I know what it is.
I think this year it was $1,200.
See?
Last year it was like $3,600.
Yeah.
They screw around with it, and you have to apply for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I didn't apply this year.
Well, you get, and I asked the guy. I said, "What happens when the checks come?" He said, "One of three things." I said, "Oh, shoot." He said, "You get a big screen TV. You get said you get a new snow machine." He said, or you dump the old lady and get a divorce.
Oh. Yeah, it kind of lays it out.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
the bar gets busy.
Yeah, if you want to know what anyhow, you called for a reason, if you would please.
Yeah, I used to manufacture and sell and test ballistic body armor. Charlie wasn't wearing body armor.
That's the first I heard of it.
Yeah. He's hard armor. Steel armor is the only stuff that really spalls. And could that happen? Yeah. But you would have seen hard armor on him. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And when the bullet hits it, the casing frags out, the whole bullet explodes, and something could have come up and got him in the neck. That doesn't appear to be the case in the one time that I viewed the footage of it. I haven't gone it down and put it into frames like a lot of people have, but I don't believe there's any body armor there. Soft armor absorbs the bullet. He obviously wasn't wearing that. There was no armor involved in this. The one thing people aren't talking about, they're talking about a suppressed round. Possibly. That round, it sounded funny. That round did sound odd. And they're not talking about subsonic rounds. Nobody's bringing up a subsonic round. And
that would take some sophistication. I don't know if this guy had it or not.
Subsonic rounds, you can get a Blackout 300.
Okay.
That's subsonic. They make 22 rounds that are subsonic. And you and I discussed the MK Ultra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This kid might have been part of the, if there's a conspiracy out there, he might have been part of an MK Ultra deal that he thinks he did it.
He's a weird. He's whatever you want to do with him. He's weird. He dummied up.
He
Apparently,
thinks he did it.
He's not talking.
Somebody else did it.
Yeah. Have you seen the booking pictures when they put the body armor on him, and they bring him in, and he apparently, and I don't know this to be true, but he's dummied up. He's not talking, and
yeah, he hasn't cooperated that I've heard of yet.
Yeah. Which is probably pretty. That's pretty. I mean, if you're again, if you did it for your lover, you'd want the world to know. And here's a guy that's just, he's not talking.
Well,
yeah.
And his dad being law enforcement, and this, when the cops show up, shut up.
I went through that school that had the shooting school, and if, and again, as my grandma would say, God forbid, you shoot somebody in your house, and how you're supposed to act. And this guy had a great line. He was a teacher, taught out of Colorado Springs. He said, he was asking everybody in the room what was their home firearm, their protection weapon. And guys were saying, like, all kinds of really cool guns and, Kimbers and all this kind of stuff. The guy said, get rid of all of that. And the guy, why? And he said, because you ain't getting it back. He said, they're going to take it. And he
don't use your good gun to shoot somebody.
No, I thought it was hilarious. And he said, no, you can shoot somebody. He said, you use your old junk gun. He said, because you ain't getting it back. Yeah. But you're well.
Yeah.
You're doing.
Yeah.
That's good.
If you shoot somebody in your house and you don't kill them.
Yep.
And they're like, are you going to call 911? Yep. Well, no. Nobody knows you're here.
Yeah. Well, this is a true story. Now it sounds like one of those sea stories, but I'm in Lebanon. I'm in Beirut, and the way the Constitution was constructed was, if the premier is a Christian, the president is a Muslim, or vice versa, and that's how they kept it together until everything got screwed up. But so I'm in a car with these guys, and there's this sort of statue of this guy. And they said, Boutros, see that guy? And I said, yeah. And they said, he was, and I don't know what faith he was, but he was running for office. And he said, he committed suicide. And I went, really? And he said, yeah, it took him 2 bullets. I was like, that's how they work. You take care of it. It's good to hear your voice. Thank you so much.
You too.
Be safe. Okay, thank you. We go to David in Golden Gate. David, you waited. Good afternoon. Thanks. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Pete. Little bit different take. I honestly don't care anything about the conspiracy theory stuff. I've got a brother who's just immersed in it, and it's just beyond. Oh, yeah. Anyway, but putting this in context with your historical lessons that there are only so many stories to be told. Mm-hmm. The myths and legends of Charlie Kirk, how is that going to unfold to where there's finally a quote-unquote truth, much like the Council of Nicaea, where there were 12 apostles, but suddenly there's only 4 gospels that come out.
Yes.
That are accepted. And then, just briefly on.
And they're, by the way, in Greek, and those men did not speak Greek nor write Greek.
No, not at all. And then Joseph, Jesus' stepdad, whether he was a carpenter or a stonemason or whatever he was in a trade that was very much needed at that time, and he went where the work was. That's why they traveled. That's why they were in caravans.
Well, if I back you up, because the story, and again, for the folks just joining, I'm really found myself reading, I don't know if it's a search or whatever it is, for the real Jesus, the historical, not the add-ons. How's that? And I don't mean to offend anybody, but I come across this historian, and by the way, I mean, there's no question in the minds of these historians that there was this man. The next question is the hard one. But his father, they say, was a carpenter, and the guy said, no, they were stonemasons, but the interpretation is they were builders, which I thought, I mean, it's meaningless to anybody else, but to me, I thought it was significant. And
that means they were at least middle class.
And this idea of, and we've talked about this earlier, but sleeping in the stable, they said, no, he was if Joseph was going to his birthplace, he had family. And if he had family, by law, by family rule, they had to take him in. And they would have never turned him away, and they never would have put him in the stable. They'd have found room for him, his wife, and the about to be born baby. He said the family would have demanded that they not turn him away.
Yep. So anyway, my journey of this kind of thinking came when I was in high school. I actually went to Mullen and had a Christian brother who was his whole concept was believe because you choose to believe, not because you have to.
That's true.
And all this stuff that is going on around it is just noise. And so listen to what the message is, and that's how you'll understand where you should be. So anyway, just thought I'd share that because
I appreciate you saying that. And but I'm fascinated by what has been done or not done, and what changes the world or doesn't change the world. But it's and I've been to Jerusalem now. Now I want to go back. I want to see stuff again. But he was in Jerusalem only a very short amount of time.
Yeah, he wasn't. That wasn't his.
No.
That wasn't his home base at all.
No. And what do you do with the missing time that nobody can explain?
See, that's where I think the upper middle class dad is able to give him the education that nobody talks about, whether it's with the Sanhedrin or the other learned people around that area in Asia Minor. And when did he appear? When he was 30?
Well, he's gone by. Well, because they talk about he preaches in the temple, right. and he loses his family, and they find him, and he's preaching to rabbis and to others, and then that's it.
Right, but he's in that temple with the rabbis because he's also being taught.
Yeah, I mean,
so, I don't know.
Because the like anything else, like Europe, in the so-called Dark Ages or Middle Ages, where was the education? It was in the church.
It's only in the church.
Yeah. It wasn't until Chartiers where the first university appears, and it's and that was the idea of gathering all the smart people together in one room or in multiple rooms, and that's the launching of the university system, and that's Chartiers.
So I'm kind of like you. I go into these deep dives in history, and I don't know if you've heard of the Golden Thread, a history of the Western tradition.
I have not.
I heard it on actually Randy Connell's show.
Can I put him on hold? Can I put you on hold, or you want to go or stay? I got to move.
I'll go ahead and go. Just the Golden Thread, a history of Western tradition. It looks like it's going to be a great read.
Thanks, David. Thank you very much. Stay here, everyone. 710 KNUS. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. It's been great. I got to work Thursday and Friday and now this morning, and it's been fun. We get to write the column, and back in the game, we have jam lines, 70 and maybe some rain. Here we go. We go to there. Do I go to Kurt in Colorado Springs? Brother man, you're on the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Peter. I listened to all this. I love your show, by the way. But I think we're living in a self-made nut house.
That's good.
Well, and it's built by a confluence of BS. I mean, like you say, nobody trusts the government anymore, right? But I think since COVID, or you can back it up to Obama, or when Trump got elected, every group is going crazy in its own way.
Well, you know, I hear somebody was sending me text messaging on conspiracies. If there wasn't a conspiracy, then why do we have a RICO Act? You know, a RICO was racketeering and influenced and corrupt organizations. It's a RICO. And if you and I conspire, or you and I and Adam conspire to do a crime, we can be RICO'd. So conspiracies do exist. I mean, if, you know, the Japanese conspired to attack Pearl Harbor, the Nazis conspired to invade Poland. You know, so there are conspiracies. And
sure.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, sure, I'm agreeing with you.
So now it does give birth to what you're listening to this morning. But when you're sick and, I mean, at least I'm so sick and tired of being lied to that, I mean, since Kennedy, and remember, I'm an old guy, man, and I believed the Warren Commission. I believed that Oswald was who he was, or that Jack Ruby was who he was. None of it's true. So what do you do with that, Kurt? What do you do with that?
Well, but I think, you know, you got these people like Candace Owens. She's monetizing sensationalism. Of course, there's nothing new there, but it's democratized now.
Yeah.
You know, you've got 10 million people out there, but, you know, until I see something, I mean, people just want to jump to some kind of a conclusion like this.
Well, you have to have a way to explain it.
Yep.
And
but sometimes it's just a person with a gun who's mad and decides to kill somebody.
And I agree again. But sometimes it's not true. And when my friend was murdered, they conspired. Now, for how long did they conspire? 3 months, maybe, to come up with a plan to take his life.
Yep.
But that's a conspiracy, and that's why when I believe they were RICO'd, and as a matter of fact, I know they were RICO'd because Allen's murder, I think, was like count 41 or something of the RICO. They would have never been able to put John Gotti in jail if you couldn't RICO.
Right, and I've read a lot about that, and they connected all the pieces together.
Sure.
What concerns me about this is we don't have the facts yet. And now I ask you, Peter, so what do you think? Can we ever get to the bottom of anything again? So now that we have very sophisticated video editing tools, to include now AI.
Oh, you bet.
I mean, think about it. Can we ever get to the bottom of anything now?
I use this, and I didn't use it, but one of my favorite novels is 1984, and in the end, Winston Smith not only knows 2 and 2 is 5, he believes it.
Right.
And and as Orwell at that moment bridges, it's called an epistemological leap, and he makes it that the rats on his face, when they put the rats on Winston Smith, and they had I always visualize a catcher's mitt, or a catcher's mask.
Yeah.
And
mask. Yep.
Yeah, and they put the rats on him, and that's his make break. And he now, I mean, knowing something is one thing. Believing something is far more important. religion is predicated on epistemological leaps of faith. And if you can make that leap, fine. If you can't, then you stall out.
Yes, I agree with you. And you've made this point many times, that belief is stronger than knowledge.
Way stronger than that.
And that's what scares me, is it's not just this, but there's so many instances out there. You've just got somebody making these wild claims, and I've got friends, that just lap all this stuff up without critically analyzing it.
But I have about 5 books that I go back to and read chapters of, and one is about the Tokyo trials. And there were, like Nuremberg, but there were Tokyo trials. And Yoshida stood trial, different people stood trial. But it wasn't like the Nuremberg trials or the trials all over Europe. There was just the Tokyo trials. And there were these people who believed Hirohito was God, or an aspect of God. What do you do with that guy?
No, that goes to your point. It goes to the point you made, and I'm the same thing is what makes me just fear what's going on. We've got millions of people just willing to believe whatever fits into their worldview, and you can't. I think with a lot of people, it's scary. How do you crack that?
You don't. You don't. And I've said that. Like, I'm writing next week about the conversion therapy. That's the greatest idiotic thing that's been perpetrated by. This is just pseudoscience, and many of them are religious people that think they could take a kid, and the way they do it, all they talk about, this is like freedom of speech. No, it's not. It's what you do to the kid if you can sneak this past the Supreme Court, making boys wear dresses and electroshock and every other horrible thing that can be done. It's torture. So if you could make a gay boy straight, then they must be able to make you gay. You think somebody could make you gay because they couldn't make me gay?
No.
Now, I might with a gun to my head do a lot of weird stuff, but I ain't gay, And so you can take some gay kid who's having a hard enough time, and his parents lug him in front of somebody who literally exorcises the demon out of him. Come on. Why is that a freedom of speech for the... I mean, why is it supported by idiots that do talk radio? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's another aspect of, where people criticize the, trans community, trying to say that, okay, well, you must be trans, and so let's help you.
It's separate. It's separate. They're two separate. Absolutely. I don't, if you want to put on a dress and have me call you Rebecca, I'll do it because I like you. But I know we're talking about knowledge and belief. I know damn well you're a guy.
Yep. And same. Yeah. But I just think children have been pulled in many directions, and I don't think the psychological and therapeutic professions have done them good over the past few decades.
But this crap has been outlawed in most of Western Europe. 19 states in the Union have said you can't do this to kids. Countries in the world have outlawed it. I mean, it's if it works, we talked about it. Who was it? Can you name the first girl you kissed?
Yeah, probably so.
First names only. Go ahead. What was her name?
Beth.
All right. How old were you?
I can't remember. I wasn't a teenager.
Okay.
Probably 12.
All right.
I don't know.
Now, and I've written about me. I was playing baseball with older guys, and this girl would come around, and the guys would kiss her. Her name was Judy. That was her first name. And it was the first girl I ever kissed. I didn't want to kiss the third baseman, a kid named Terry Martin. And I remember, and these guys all say, well, these people have a choice. Well, how come I didn't have a choice? How come Kurt didn't have a choice? Did you have a choice?
Yeah, no, I never had a choice, no.
Me neither. Could I talk you Could I beat you? Could I do? Yeah, you can make me do stuff. Gun to my head's a big motivator, but I mean, it's interesting what you'll do to save your ass. But you follow any? I mean, this stuff's nuts. Anyhow, I don't know how we got off into this, but we did, and you're a good caller. But remember, there is a RICO, and there's a reason there's a RICO. It's It's conspiracy.
Yeah.
Take care, man. Thank you for a great call. Be safe.
Thanks, Peter. It was great talking to you.
Thanks, Bubba. You too. All right. Danny Kaplis' law firm, and Danny suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much more about you to the folks involved in the case. And Kaplis, of course, his dad was a cop, and Danny's family was great. Growing up as he did, he has dedicated the last 40 years of his life into helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. And Danny's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Danny's believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law partner of the Nuggets and, of course, the Avs. He's my friend. And if you're jammed up, 303-770-5551. He's there. The web is Kaplis, C-A-P-L-A-S, law.com. If you need something, 303-770-5551. Get Kaplis' help. Take back to the phones. Line 1. Okay. We go to Mike. Mike, you're on the radio show. Thank you and good morning. Good afternoon. Pardon me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pete. Yeah, I got as a retired cop, DPD cop. I gotta take umbrance with this conspiracy theory. You were just talking about Alan, and you got to go as a cop where the evidence leads you. And with Alan, the evidence led you to conspiracy.
Yes.
Right away.
They were RICO'd.
And with Charlie Kirk, I mean, I've listened to Alan Samuels and I've listened to Candace Owens, and I look at and I'm also a conspiracy theorist. We talked many times about the Kennedy assassination, and what I see in Charlie Kirk is the evidence, what we've seen. And I see a kid that's disillusioned, that's living with a transsexual.
Would you consider him gay, the shooter, if he's the shooter?
If
I would too. I did. I thought that too.
I consider him gay.
Yeah.
I consider him angry at Charlie Kirk because of his firm anti-gay stance, his unapologetic gay stance. I mean, he comes out unapologetically against gay marriage. I think he's angry about Charlie Kirk. I think he takes a hard stance against his dad. When you talk conspiracy theory, okay, say we're going to set this thing up as a conspiracy theory. Okay, all these pieces have to come to bear. We got to get his dad involved. We got to get all these people involved. We got to set up all this video. We got to set up all these county sheriffs. We got to set up all these videos of this kid walking through neighborhoods. And we got to set these bullets up. We got to set the bullets up to match his lifestyle. We got to involve his lover, his live-in lover.
Sure,
we got to involve all this stuff. It's not like Oswald, which stunk from the beginning. We know now that when you talk about conspiracies, the bullets at Tippett's crime scene didn't even match the gun that Oswald was captured.
No, I agree, but the difference, and I'm like yourself. I mean, I take my hat off to guys like you, but there's a trail in Oswald. I mean, it goes back to, when he goes into the Soviet Union, when he how quickly he gets to come back. Look, back in those days, if you'd have gone over and become what was dubbed a traitor or a turncoat, you weren't coming back that quick. Remember, he comes back just on. But I do want to come back to something else along the same lines. when you begin this process, you make the square peg fit the round hole. It's the only way you can make it stick.
Correct. And when you're talking about this kid, okay, everybody's talking ballistics and this. Okay, if this is a professional shooter, why isn't the shot better? Okay, I was a paramedic before I was a cop. Okay, the shot.
Let me do this. Mike, let me throw you on hold so you got time. Put them on hold. Do a quick turn. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm looking out the window. It looks pretty okay. Let's see what happens. Stay here. And back on Monday morning, the guys are here. Ted Trim is here, along with Jeff on Monday morning. 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, October 22nd, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 9565 South University Boulevard in Highlands Ranch. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, October 22nd at IHOP.
Afternoon, everybody. Tugging the line. Boy, you'd be a disc jockey. 14 minutes, make it 16 minutes before the top of the hour, 1 o'clock. And I'll see you next week on Saturday morning at 9. We go back to give final couple minutes to Mike and Wheatridge to wrap it up. Mike, it's all yours. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, again, I go with the evidence, and again, nobody trusts the feds, and I'm with you, Peter. I mean, there's a lot to mistrust in the FBI. I worked with the FBI, and there's a lot to mistrust. We know the FBI mishandled JFK, and the government does lie to us. But I'm looking at Charlie Kirk, and I'm looking at what Alan Samuels said better than me, because I'm not a ballistics expert by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, if that rifle was sighted in, okay, maybe he was aiming at Charlie Kirk's head. And as he pulls the trigger, if he jerked the trigger, it goes from a headshot to maybe a glancing blow along the side of that neck. And it doesn't go completely through the neck, as Candace says.
As we come up on time, there's a lot of this morning. I don't know how many times we use believe and maybe. Science and math can't use those words.
But I think it's enough of a wound channel, because as you watch Charlie Kirk reach up, I think it's a glancing blow that created enough of a wound channel to destroy his jugular and his carotid, that he basically was dead because those two vessels were destroyed. He's dead before he hits the ground.
And I believe that as well.
He dies of blood loss.
He never knew. He never knew what hit him. Now, I believe a professional gunman is what we saw from the grassy knoll, because that was a no-doubt shot to JFK's head. That's a professional gunman, in my opinion, because he took 3/4 of Kennedy's head off. And remember, I'll give you the final comment. Oswald was whatever the lowest Marine shooter was. Like, there's experts and marksmen and that kind of thing in the Marine Corps. He was, according to his fellow Marines, he was a lousy shot. So,
and he couldn't get 3 shots off in 5.6 seconds.
And especially with that rifle. Well, that rifle was a bad rifle.
Run downstairs, and the first cop, as my final comment, run downstairs and open a Coke, and he's standing on the second floor when the first cop comes through the door.
Indeed, passes him. Thanks. We'll talk.
Thanks,
Bubba. Thank you very much. We go to Mark in Aurora. Mark, you're on the show. Good afternoon, and thanks.
Yeah, and think about it, Pete, how elaborate the setup was for Oswald and how they directed him there. Although supposedly the lady that got him the job had also taken him down to Miami, because remember, that job was supposed to be finished about, in the summer. He was supposed to be killed in Miami.
Well, he was in Miami. We were talking about Jack Kennedy. They had gotten the prisoners out of Fidel Castro's prisons, and they were in the Orange Bowl, and they were giving the tractors. That was the trade that they made, and it's always been said that on the top of the other building was the sniper, and no, I mean, I certainly believe it.
But I think the Charlie Kirk case, I love a good conspiracy as you do. But in this case, unfortunately, I hate to tell people, and I have that, because I listen to a lot of ballistic expert guys or people that said he wasn't carrying the gun. Actually, he had the gun in the towel, and if you slow down where he jumped off, you can see it sticking out under his arm.
I agree.
It's like there's all those people immediately, as I did when it first happened, thought, oh, this is a pro. Well, he didn't hit center mass head. I mean, basically, you started realizing it's this whack job, and he basically told his family, he told his lover, they called the cops.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, and Candace Owens,
and maybe
she's doing the whole thing with Macron and his wife, which is a fool's errand. That's a fool's errand.
It very well may be what you say. It's easily explicable, or
But I just mean, I know people want to see that, Pete, because it speaks to a bigger thing. And like I've told people, now if you find money, that's different. If you find money trail back to this guy, that'll be very different.
Or political ideology.
But I'm afraid he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like he did it, Pete.
Well, I, as we come to the end of the segment, of course. I mean, he's somewhere in the mix, and I think he's the prime mover. But
yeah,
when you can't.
We're coming up on it, Pete. As you know, we're going to hit November next month.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
There's a new it's probably not new, but it's from the perspective of the guy who actually took the body from the autopsy.
We interviewed this.
The mortician. The guy's name's Robinson, the mortician.
But the cop, the Secret Service
he documents all the holes in the body.
I found the bullets. Yeah.
I mean, he blew the back of his head out.
Sure. But remember, John Connolly goes to the grave with a bullet in his body. You never let him take it out.
John Connolly was a decent fellow, I think.
He was Lyndon Johnson's
in politics.
guy. Yeah, he was. And if we weren't on the air, I would tell you all these great stories that they said about John Connolly and Lyndon Johnson. But
I cannot, for the life of me, Pete, and I know he was involved in the Civil Rights Act and gets all that credit, but do people realize the language he used for about 40 years?
All of his life.
I mean, come on. But like if you're from Texas, right? You know how that guy talked.
Well, and you know how Jack Kennedy talked, and you know how Donald Trump talks, and probably the only one that probably didn't talk that way was Jimmy Carter.
And Pete, this is not being sanctimonious. I grew up down there in the South, in Dallas. Relatives in Louisiana, and my brother and I own some property in Louisiana. But I don't use the N-word. I don't use that word. It's a hideous word.
Lyndon Johnson
It's a hideous word.
Lyndon Johnson used
That's what I'm trying to say is, like, how does that guy get away with what nobody in culture, if you're white, could ever get away with?
The great story is he calls, come on, Peter, Sarnoff, and he kept 3 televisions in the Oval Office because it was before clickers. And this is in David Halberstam's book, The Powers That Be. And he calls...
Great book.
A wonderful book. And he calls Sarnoff. And he screams at him, get the cameras off the N-word. Because it was the Poor People's March. And
you know this too about the Kennedys. The Kennedys were not going to help Martin Luther King.
No, they weren't.
They were not, and they got a phone call and said, "Hey, the party needs this."
He was in Birmingham. Dr. King's in Birmingham in jail.
Yeah.
And Coletta Scott King. No, because they listened to the ambassador, and he said, if you do this, you'll lose the South. And they said if he was to become Jack Kennedy was no champion of civil rights. That's nonsense.
No.
And the interesting character who really pulls the pin on him at Little Rock was Dwight Eisenhower, who gets painted, and he sends the 80 deuce, and they go, and then they were gonna shoot it out. George Wallace was, and by the way, one more thing, because I was thinking about George Wallace. When Arthur Bremer is being led away from the shopping center where he had shot George Wallace, and the Maryland cops are on both sides, and he looked at one of the Maryland patrolmen and State Patrol and said, "I'm really somebody now, aren't I?" And I always thought that notion plays out a lot in this as well. You know, you're a bum, but my God, now you're Arthur Bremer.
Pete, I'll tell you one last thing about this whole issue.
Real
because
quick,
again,
we got a minute.
It'll be quick. Look for a picture of anybody in Hannesport in the '60s, other than Sammy Davis Jr. And he had a blonde wife from Sweden that they basically said, "Don't bring her around."
He couldn't come to the wedding. He couldn't come to the wedding because of her name was Mai. They pronounced it Mai-Britt. And Joe Kennedy, the ambassador, said, "I don't want the fill-in-the-blank campaigning for my boy." Take care.
Keep reading that book, Pete.
I promise. Take care. All right, everybody. What a great show. And thank you, everybody, for calling. And it was good stuff. Couldn't have done it without Adam Walker. And thanks to Kelly Michaels and John Boy and everybody. And you take care of yourselves. And we want to see it next Saturday morning. We'll do it at 9 o'clock. Thanks.